Welcome to Death Holler. Do you like scary movies? Welcome to Season 3, Slash or Pass. There will be laughter, tears, tender moments.
Jason. Jason. My special, special boy.
But most of all, screams. Remember, when you're in Death Holler, listener discretion is always advised. We hope you have a killer time.
Welcome back to Death Holler. I'm your host, the Reverend Dr. Death, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Llareyna. How are things today, Llareyna?
I'm stoked to be wrapping this up and a little excited to see part 6. Because if people have stuck with us this week alone, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, this is your Friday episode of the Screen series. And that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to finish out with Scream 4 and 5 today. But first, let's attack some bees.
What is that? What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah! Open my eyes!
Oh, I love that little bit. So this episode, we are discussing Tragedy Girls from 2017 with tagline, Friends Who Slay Together, Stay Together.
Oh, my God.
Directed by Tyler McIntyre. Written by Chris Lee Hill, Tyler McIntyre, and Justin Olson. Principal players for this one, we got Brianna Hildebrand playing Sadie Cunningham, who is the final girl slasher of this movie. We'll get into that in a minute. She was, I believe the character's name is Negasonic Teenage Warhead that she plays in the Deadpool movies.
Okay.
And she was also in the Lucifer TV series. Jamie Kennedy was also in that TV series. So a little bit of a crossover there, but there's more than that. Here in a second, we have Alexandra Shipp, who plays Michaela Hooper, who is also a final girl slasher of the movie. She was in X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Dark Phoenix, playing the young Storm in those movies. Was in Straight Outta Compton with O'Shea that we talked about. And she was in Love, Simon. And we have Kevin Durand playing Lowell, or the Rosedale Ripper, who is the technical slasher of the movie, but he's also the mentor to the two girls, in particular, Michaela. And rounding out the cast, or the main cast, is Jack Quaid playing Jordan Welch, who is the naive simp that is pining after Sadie. And Jack will make an appearance again in another Scream movie that we're discussing. So he goes from the do-gooder boyfriend in this one to the do-badder boyfriend in Scream 5. So, but he's obviously in The Boys. That's what a lot of people know him from now. And he was in Batman: The Long Halloween, which means that he's acted opposite Jensen Ackles at least twice now. So that's interesting.
Batman: The Long Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Was that any good?
It's good. The voice acting's a little stiff, I feel like, but I don't feel like that's the actor's fault. So I think that whenever they were directing it, it's a little, I don't know. Instead of it feeling natural, it's more like, you hear somebody talk, they stop what they're saying, the other person, says what they're saying. There's no real, like natural back and forth. But
yeah.
The story itself's great. It's one of the best Batman stories that's came out. So it was a good one for Jensen to actually do his Batman voice on if he was going to become Batman at any point.
Oh, God.
Well, we're not going back to that. Synopsis. 2 high school besties decide that the best way to get internet clout is to become serial killers and milk the public for sympathy as the tragic survivors. Inspired by a local slasher, the 2 girls go on a killing spree, terrorizing their local community. Machetes slash, faces get cut up by shop table saws, and Craig Robinson shows us all why spotters are so important in the gym. That is one of the best kills in some of the movies we've been watching. When he gets taken out. Has this big, like 100-pound weight, dropped straight on his head, and it like chops his scalp off. Oh, it's a good one.
Fucking awesome.
Body count in this one, we're not going to surpass in any of the movies that we're covering this
season.
Oh
my God.
133 on screen and 148 total in the movie.
How in the fuck? Wait, you're going to explain this, aren't you?
Yes.
Okay.
So 4 unarmed people are killed by Lowell off screen, but it's mentioned. So that's part of the 148. Craig Thompson had part of his face split in half after being struck in the head by Lowell with a machete and then suffocated by Sadie with a rag. At least 5 cats and 5 dogs are dissolved by Sadie and Michaela in acid off screen.
Nope.
But they mention it.
Nope.
Yep. Sadie's cat gets dissolved by Sadie and Michaela in acid off screen, and it's mentioned.
That's fucked up.
Well, they're fucked up girls. We'll get to that. Toby Mitchell gets his legs broken after Sadie and Michaela crashed his motorcycle. He's the ex to Michaela.
Okay.
He's stabbed 3 times in the chest by Sadie and in the heart by Michaela.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvia Seal Stanton has the top of her head cut in half after having her leg wrapped in a chain by Sadie and Michaela. They basically, it's in shop class, and they've got like these semi-cool looking mask on, and she recognizes instantly who Michaela is because of her shoes, and so that blows her cover regardless of the mask, and then they just wrap a chain around her foot, and she just happens to swing into the table saw, and that's the end of that.
Oh my God.
Albert Big Al Hill, who's played by Craig Robinson, is stabbed in the chest by Sadie, bludgeoned by Michaela with a weight, and then scalped by Sadie with a bench press. Mayor Campbell is impaled through the mouth by Lowell with a metal flagpole. And that looks, the way that they staged that scene looks like the cover, if you've ever seen it, for I believe it's Cannibal Holocaust, where the woman's like impaled on a spike or whatever from like head to anus or what mouth to anus. So yeah, it looked like that in the movie. Let's see. Mrs. Welch is strangled to death from behind by Sadie and Michaela before the movie, causing her to crash her car. That's Jack Quaid's mom. That sets up a lot of stuff in the movie. And then Lowell Arson Lehman, the Rosedale Ripper, is shot in the chest by Michaela, causing him to fall to his death off a rafter. And then Jordan Welch, or Jack Quaid, is pushed off a rafter with a rope tied around his neck by Sadie, hanging him.
Woo.
And then 124 students and teachers in the school are burned alive whenever they basically set fire to the school or gym when they're having some kind of dance, and then they bolt the doors shut so that they can't get out. So that's where you get all the kills from.
Okay, I was gonna say, is this one of those like schools out in the East where everything is indoors, and I'm like can't even fathom a school like that because I'm like everything is outdoors in California?
It's like Middletown, USA.
Okay.
And in fact, I've got some trivia about that. They meant for it to be like, kind of like the real life Riverdale, as it were. They based it upon that sort of stuff. So,
okay.
Quotes from the movie is Sadie Cunningham, "To make an omelet, you have to kill some ex-boyfriends."
Okay.
Jordan Welch, if Sadie needs like an alibi or something, just get her out of a jam. Just tell her she can say that she was watching some Dario Argento movie, okay? And then Michaela's like, Dario DiGiorno. And then Jordan's like, Dario Argento. And then she's like, Dario Arpeggio. And she's like, Mario Wario. That's what she goes with. So poor Dario Argento. Trivia: when Jordan and his dad are in the living room, his dad falls asleep with the TV on. A famous movie line is heard: "They're coming to get you, Barbara," from Night of the Living Dead.
Of course,
thrown in every movie.
Yep.
The last names of both the main girls are the last names of famous horror directors. Brianna Hildebrand's character's last name is inspired by Sean Cunningham from Friday the 13th. And then Alexandra Shipp's character's last name is inspired by Toby Hooper from Texas Chainsaw. Seal's Little Free Library in the movie is modeled after the Myers house from Halloween, 1978. The aluminum foil stars at the prom are a reference to Carrie, and then, of course, they go to set fire to the school, it catches that reference. Archie Comics and Riverdale were the source of inspiration for the town of Rosedale. Craig is purposely dressed to look like Archie, and then Sadie and Michaela are both cheerleaders in the movie, like Betty and Veronica.
As one blonde and one brunette?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, well, one's blonde in the sense that she's got her hair dyed like multiple colors, but blonde is one of them.
Okay.
So it works. And the popular teen hangout is the Juice Bar, which is a contemporary version of a malt shop. So,
oh my God,
they kind of worked that in. The Sweethearts Bridge from the opening was a practical location suggested to the filmmakers by the locals. The sequence was originally scripted to take place at Lover's Lane. The bridge was established in 1996, which is the same year that Scream came out, which was a major influence on this film, according to the directors. Another tie-in there. And the geographical location, Rosedale, is left purposefully ambiguous to make it feel like Anytown, USA. Even Lowell's driver's license doesn't have a state listed.
Anytown, USA. I love it.
And then the creepy white mask on the two girls' faces and the crosses on the eyes are an obvious tribute to Jean Rollins' iconic Mask Girls. And I looked that up, and it is pretty similar to that. So basically, the gist of this movie, to sum it up, is that the two girls they're kind of like Mickey was in like Scream 2. They've been psychopaths since they were kids.
Yeah.
And they decide that they're going to use the internet to their advantage, in the sense that now that social media has gotten to the point where influencers are a thing, they can stage these deaths of like, people close to them, and then they can come in there and like film videos about it, and then get like people to like, give them a bunch of likes and that sort of thing, because they feel sympathetic toward their, plot. So basically they're killing the people and then milking the social media off of it.
I've survived.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Biggest issue with this movie is the fact that, well, it's one of those things where the girls do not get their comeuppance at the end of the movie. They do not. Like, they get by with everything. Everybody buys that they're the tragic survivors of the, all these killings. There's this horrible scene at the end of the movie where Jack Quaid's dad, who's already went through the loss of his wife, he's the sheriff of the town, and he loses his son not once but twice in the movie. His son gets like attacked by the Rosedale Ripper, but he survives because there's a little turn in the middle of the movie where Sadie's kind of looks like she might come back from the dark side, but then at the end of the movie, Michaela convinces her that no, their destiny is to be serial killers. So that's whenever she hangs, Jack Quaid's character. And then whenever that sheriff just breaks down at the end of the movie, him plus the fact that the girls are just smirking about what they got, killing all these kids in this gym. Like you're like, oh my God, I just wish the two of you would have gotten taken out by somebody.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. So it's a rough ending to the movie. And the movie's comedic in a lot of the parts. So it's one of those things where and I've seen people make this comment, and I have to agree with it. It's got like this comedy horror thing going through most of the movie, and then the ending is so mean that it just like leaves a bad taste in your mouth. It's the bad problem with the ending.
Probably did its job. It did what it likely intended to do.
Oh yeah, you 100%. Like everybody was bringing that up. It's like, well, I hated these characters, and it's like, you were supposed to. I
Yeah.
mean, like even how they go about getting clout, like during the movie where they intentionally put themselves in front of other students and film it, and are trying to grief counsel these other students, even though they're the ones behind the kills. It's like, oh, you could see somebody in real life pulling this shit off. Like, sadly, is the way that social media's gotten.
Yeah, that's yeah.
It's funny because I feel like it ties into the next Scream movie we're getting ready to discuss, because of the motive for the main character in that movie with the internet, and it was inspired by Scream, so there's that connection. And another funny thing is that Sadie's dad in the movie, she's kind of like the trailer trash girl of the two. Michaela's parents are like, medium to or middle class to upper middle class. So, I mean, she's got a real nice home, but like Sadie lives in a trailer, and her dad looks like looks like a dad bod, chubby, John Winchester.
Oh, okay. So he's just my type,
Yeah.
is what you're saying.
Yeah, he looks like your version of Jeffrey Dean Morgan, like that. He's off-brand, but he's got the beer gut and a little bit beefy. And I'm like, I think Llareyna might like this version of John Winchester.
Yeah, when you get your Daddy Winchester off of Wish,
Yeah, that's basically what it amounts to. And as far as the movie goes, Nick Cage rating, I'm gonna give it Peggy Sue Got Married. Like, it's an entertaining film. Good. I mean, filmed well. Performances are great across the board. But in that movie, you can't stand Nicolas Cage because he plays this nasally, like, whiny character.
Ugh.
And I can't stand the main characters of this movie. So that's why I gave it Peggy Sue Got Married.
I have to say, bringing up Nick Cage, TikTok is going crazy with these Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal fucking memes / videos.
The unbearable weight of massive talent. Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm loving it. It's hilarious. The stuff that people are coming up with is fucking hilarious.
It's just funny knowing, because I've watched that movie twice now, and just knowing that scene, it's hilarious because Nick Cage is like on the verge of like the drugs kicking in. And that's why he gives, and he doesn't, and he just realizes he's been dosed by Pedro, and that's why Pedro's got that smile on his face.
Yeah.
It's like,
question, is that song Make Your Own Kind of Music? Is that the actual song that's playing at the time?
I feel like it is.
Okay.
I feel like it is. Yeah.
Oh my God. It's hilarious.
One thing I was going to discuss before we get into the movies is that, like, Cody mentioned to me today, because he's already listened to the previous podcast.
He's wild.
Yeah. He made the argument, and I can't dispute it, that Randy is the unofficial Doom Prophet of the movies.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because you didn't even explain why, and I'm like, fuck yeah, he is, because he knows all the rules, and he's telling everybody.
And he's telling people the killers too, because he's looking. He looks right at Stu, and he's like, "You guys could be the killers easily." And it's like, he said,
"Look at him and tell me he's not the killer."
So if we go by that logic, then going forward, then the experts in the movies are the Doom Prophets, because they do make a comment in Scream 5 that the expert always dies, which is technically the Doom Prophet always dies. And so might keep that in mind for, like, these next two movies.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can't discuss it now because technically there's two experts. They're usually always on the cover together, and they're still alive. I won't say names yet until we finish this.
Yes.
Speaking of, did you see those posters that I picked up to use as our covers?
Yes, because I've actually seen those before, and it's funny you posted those, because there's a guy who makes like bootleg DVD covers or Blu-ray covers and sells them on eBay, and he makes some really nice ones, and like I bought a couple of them because I mean, like, the art on them is so great. And then, like, one of them was I believe I got The Shining. It's got real cool Jack Nicholson breaking through the door and all that stuff. But the one for Scream 4, because I've got the Blu-ray, but I don't have, like, it was just a plain disc, is the same style as what you posted, but it's got like Stabathon. It's like, and then it's like they're having that, big movie marathon or whatever. And then Ghostface is on that. So
I kind of want to throw in a Stab poster, which is so hilarious. I may do that, but those are alternative movie posters. I'm surprised I found one for 3 and 4. The first one was really cool. I really liked the first one. Although I don't know that was an alternative one. I think that was a legit, they made that one, and then somebody came out with the alternative ones, and I was like, oh, dude, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's some very talented people. Those alt posters that they've got that you can, buy or whatever are amazing. Like they're as good as anything put out by like Scream Factory or, Vinegar Syndrome or anything like that.
Yeah.
So they're pretty good.
We appreciate them. And they are not in cahoots with us, so please don't get mad at us for using them. I should put their information in, because I don't know if I didn't see anything about buying them, but I can go back and look and maybe be like, hey, if you're interested in buying this, here you go,
Well, like I said, you can definitely get them in a bootleg slipcover for your Blu-rays or your 4Ks. So
yeah, make your own kind of music.
Circling it back around.
Oh man.
Speaking of that, let's circle back into Scream. We've had this little interlude here. First up is the reboot, Scream 4 from 2011. Tagline for this one is "New Decade, New Rules." Directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson. He's back for this one.
Woohoo!
And it shows. Music by Marco Beltrami. A budget of $40 million, and it made 97.2. So not as much as the originals, but I mean, it still made double. So it's still a moneymaker.
Hold on one second. We're gonna halt for just a brief second. Are you going to be able to explain to me why this is called the reboot?
Well, it's obvious because they were trying to so part 5 is the requel, and we'll get into that.
Okay.
But during
Yes.
this time period, they were trying to do reboots, so they were trying to so this was like a meta commentary about going along and picking like a new final girl basically, and then like rebooting it from that way, or at least the meta of the movie is. It's not necessarily a reboot of the series because obviously of how it ends, but I mean that's kind of what they were doing with it. It was like a reboot with a little bit of the original cast in it or whatever.
Yeah, because I feel like this is a continuation of the series. I don't feel like this is a reboot at all.
Well, it's only a reboot in the sense of in the narrative of the movie. It's like the two main killers are trying to reboot the series is what they're trying to do.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going strictly by the movie itself, it's another sequel. But I mean, but I'm going by the concept of the movie itself, like the story. The two main killers are trying to reboot Scream. They're trying to come up with for a new generation, like a new series of like a new final girl, a new hero character. At least that's in their mind. That's what they're trying to do.
Okay, I mean, like I said, I'm going, but I'm going to complain the whole time.
Okay. Principal players, Neve Campbell's back as Sidney Prescott again as the final girl.
Let's talk about her. Who is she again? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's been a couple of days. Dane Farwell is playing Ghostface in this one, and we're back to double the fun because there are actual 2 in this one.
Woohoo!
And he was a stuntman on Zombieland Double Tap and in Minority Report.
Wow.
Emma Roberts is Jill Roberts in the movie, Sydney's cousin, and she's a fame-starved whore, basically. It's what it amounts to. And, of course, Emma Roberts is famous for the American Horror Story series now, starting out with Coven, and then she's been in a few horror movies since then. Nerve, Abandoned, which is a 2022 film, had a comedy movie, We Are the Millers, which was one of the last gasp of comedy, but it's a pretty good movie. And then The Black Coat's Daughter, which we have covered on this podcast before. Rory Culkin plays Charlie Walker, who is the spurned horror nerd of the movie. David Arquette plays Dewey Riley again. Now he's the sheriff of Woodsborough.
Oh, there's only room for one sheriff in this town.
It makes more sense to me that he would have went back to Woodsboro and been the sheriff. I don't know. When you watch this movie and you see that, then you're like, why did he go? Why was he this Hollywood, like consultant. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't make a whole lot. The only way that it makes any sense, and there's a lot of headcanon there, is if he went there with Gail, but then like in the movie part 3, they established the two were separated. So
Separated, yeah.
whatever.
Maybe it was a way to get away from the separation, get away from Woodsborough for a minute, and maybe he was offered a pretty decent amount of money, although it doesn't show later on in Vibe. But anyways, moving forward.
Courtney Cox is back as Gail Weathers Riley in this one. She's actually married to Dewey in this one. They reconciled their relationship after part 3, and now they're together, although you can tell it's chafing her in this movie to be in Woodsborough. She's trying to give up the true crime aspect and go into writing fiction, but she's not doing too good of a job of it. Marley Shelton is making her debut here as Deputy Judy Hicks, Dewey's right-hand woman, and she's obviously trying to move in there a little bit, which is a big friction between Gail and her.
Mm-hmm.
Baking that man some goods that apparently taste like shit, or at least according to Gail, they do.
Yeah. And he's like, I was pissed when he turned to her and said, they don't. They really don't. It's like, ooh, you don't disagree with your wife.
Well, her back was turned, and he does have to work with Judy, even if it's a situation where he's not giving into her. I don't know. He's in a bad situation with all that.
Oh, yeah.
So. And of course, she was on the previous podcast that we covered Valentine, and then she's also in the new, I think, Yellowstone offshoot, maybe 1923. I don't follow any of those, but I think that's maybe what that's from. Sinead Grimes Beach is playing Trudy, the Stab 6 victim. Lucy Hale is playing Sherry, the Stab 6 victim. Anna Paquin plays Rachel, the Stab 7 victim.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in True Blood, X-Men, and then also in Trick or Treat, which is a movie we will cover at some point in one of the seasons because that movie's awesome. Kristen Bell is playing Chloe, the Stab 7 killer, or at least one of them. Britt Robertson's playing Marnie Cooper, which is Jill's classmate. Amy Teagarden is playing Jenny Randall, who is a smart blonde, and
Yes.
she lets everybody know that.
Oh, yeah. She listed that IQ and everything.
Yeah, right before she got gutted. Marielle Jaffe plays Olivia Morris, which is Jill and Kirby's friend. And I say Jill's friend in quotation marks.
Mm-hmm.
Allison Brie plays Rebecca Walters, Sydney's publicist. And of course, she's from Community, which is I recommend it to anybody that can friggin' watch it because it's great. She's also been in several movies with her husband. They made several, like and The Rental is one of them, and then The Little Hours are a couple. I think The Rental is actually a horror movie. I've not checked that one out, but I've heard good things about it. And then more recently, she was in the Glow Netflix series. Adam Brody's playing Deputy Haas, who is assigned protection for Sydney.
Is Sydney back in? Well, I know she's doing a book tour. I'm thinking, is she living in Woodsborough again? I don't think she is.
She's technically staying with her cousin or whatever.
Yeah.
Her, Kate. Anthony Anderson's playing Deputy Perkins, who's also assigned as protection. And he was in the remakes of The Town That Dreaded Sundown, the one that came out in 2014. Mary McDonald plays Kate Roberts, Sydney's cousin and Jill's mom. Eric Knudsen plays Robbie Mercer, who is a streaming geek and wannabe influencer. Hayden Panettiere plays Kirby Reed, who's a hot horror geek and a friend of Jill, another quotation mark, because apparently Jill doesn't care about people.
No.
And Hayden came back and did the Until Dawn video game. So she's got a little bit of horror cred to her name now. And then Nico Tortorella plays Trevor Sheldon, which is Jill's ex-boyfriend stalker and the stand-in for Billy in this movie. Although it's a setup.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Synopsis is 15 years on and Ghostface has returned to Woodsborough, ready to hack and slash a new generation. With local sheriff Dewey Riley and his admiring deputy Judy Hicks on the job, the police are doing everything they can to catch this new killer before the body count climbs to epic proportions. Will perpetual final girl Sydney Prescott make it through this reboot? Throats will be cut, crotches will be shot, and heads will be defibrillated. And it's surprising I couldn't put another tagline in this because this literally only had one tagline. It's like the only movie I've seen in like forever that only has one, and it's New Decade, New Rules, and that was it. That's all they had listed.
Wow.
Which I guess if they're proud of it, I wouldn't have been, but whatever.
Way to put in the effort. The old college try,
Yeah. Body count. There's 14 counted, 15 non-counted. We have Trudy, who was stabbed in the chest by Ghostface. Sherry, who has her throat slit by Ghostface.
Oh, those were some good kills. And that was for the stab movies, huh?
The stab movie,
Which,
yes.
oh my God, I loved how there was multiple stab openings to really fucking throw you off.
A stab within Scream.
Yeah.
Is basically what it amounted to. That, when I started this movie, this is jumping ahead slightly, discussion of it, I was like, oh shit, it's that trope of somebody's on the phone and they're redoing part one again. But then I realized, because I'd forgot, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the one that's got that cool inversion where it's like they're watching Stab and there's, with it, and all that stuff. So this one, I give Kevin Williamson credit. Like, it takes that formula and it does a good job with it.
Oh, he threw me for a loop for sure. And I enjoyed it.
Rachel is stabbed in the gut twice by Chloe, and then Marnie Cooper is stabbed in the gut and thrown through a window by Charlie Walker. This is where I actually get into the Scream movie that we're watching. Jenny Randall is stabbed by Jill. Olivia Morris is stabbed multiple times and literally gutted by Charlie Walker. Rebecca Walters is stabbed in the stomach and thrown off many stories by Jill. Officer Haas is stabbed in the back by Jill. Officer Perkins is stabbed in the forehead by Jill. Ooh. And then Kate Roberts is stabbed in the back and neck by Jill. So Jill's doing the bulk of the killing in this movie.
Not buying
Robbie Mercer is stabbed in the chest, back, and stomach by Charlie, who's supposed to be his friend. These people just don't care. And then Kirby Reed, there's an asterisk here. We'll get to that in a second. Is stabbed twice in the stomach. But the asterisk is that she's revealed to be alive in Scream 5. So didn't quite die in this movie.
Okay.
Even though they didn't technically say she didn't. So I'm counting it, even though she really didn't. So whatever. And then Trevor Sheldon is shot in the crotch and head by Jill Roberts. Charlie Walker is stabbed in the heart and stomach by Jill Roberts. And then Jill Roberts gets electroshock and shot in the chest by Sidney Prescott. The non-counted death is that Neil Prescott, Sidney's dad, has been revealed to have died between Scream 3 and Scream 4. So poor Sidney has lost every fucking person in her fucking life.
Not true. There's Gail Weathers and there's Deputy Dewey.
I wouldn't count Gail, even though she does seem to be friends with her in part 5. And
yeah.
But there is Dewey, but we'll get to that.
They're not besties, but they are practically horror relatives at this point.
I feel like they're like friends by fire or whatever. Like how you like these soldiers that make friendships in the trenches. That's them. Sidney Prescott, starting our quotes here. You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
100%.
So see,
amen.
So she admits they're trying to be a reboot. So there you go. Before you scream and tell me that that you don't see it.
I don't see it. I was kidding.
After being stabbed in the shoulder, Ghostface is about to strike the final blow, and then Robbie's like, "Wait, no, you can't. There's rules. I'm gay. I'm gay."
Which I thought was fucked up because I was like, that is true. But then we forget. Let's circle back to Drew Barrymore. Certain rules do not fucking apply.
That's true. And it's funny because they bring it up earlier in the movie that technically, according to the new rules of social justice, you can't kill a gay character, which I find hilarious because social justice is what's so far off the rails since this movie that literally this movie would be canceled for having killed. Well, first of all, for Robbie claiming he's gay if he's not. And then secondly, if he was gay, for having killed him.
Yeah.
That's how bad it's gotten. So,
I mean, if it helps.
Yeah, Robbie's like, I mean, if it helps, and then Ghostface stabs him, after that. Jill Roberts, my friends, what world are you living in? I don't need friends. I need fans. Don't you get it? This never been about killing you. It's been about becoming you. I mean, for fuck's sake, my own mother had to die. No great loss there. So I could stay true to the original. That's sick, right? Well, sick is the new saying. You had your 15 minutes. Now I want mine. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Go to college, grad school, work, look around. We all live in the public now. We're all on the internet. How do you think people become famous anymore? You don't have to achieve anything. You got to have fucked up shit happen to you. So you have to die, Sid. Those are the rules. New movie, new franchise. There's only room for one lead. And let's face it, your ingenue days, they're over.
Damn.
I love that. That is Kevin Williamson basically like fucking throwing shade at like social media, like big time. And that whole monologue that Jill has. And of course, Emma Roberts delivers it in the best bitchy way that she can.
Oh,
and she's
yeah.
great at that type of delivery. It's kind of funny because most of this movie she's playing really subdued, and you're like, that's not the Emma Roberts that everybody loves. And then when she kicks out that one line, it's like, oh, there she is. That's the one that, you know, had the line, because they played all the time in like different videos on TikTok, the one from American Horror Story where she's like she asked some guy like at some party like if he wants to go back and be her slave, and then like she's like, what do you mean you don't get anything, or slaves get nothing, or something like that later whenever she talks to him or whatever. So and then of course we have Gail Weathers, Riley, saying, okay, but can I have just one final word? And then Jill Roberts is like, what, please? And then Gail's like, no, clear. And then clear, and then that's when Sydney, you know, zaps her really good, which is one of the best, one of the best kills in the franchise, in my opinion. Let's get right into it. So visually, what do you think about this movie?
It's nothing new, but it's because I have no complaints about any Scream movie. Even we had a few picks here and there of stuff not looking amazing. Maybe not amazing, looking its best, I should say, because to me they all look pretty damn good, and nothing has changed with that. So I want to say that with these movies so far, they've been pretty fucking consistent. Maybe lacking some of the blues in terms of color filters. Because when we go visuals, I know we talk about the killings and the guts and the blood and everything. But this is all slightly different kills, but this is all repetition. They all look good, you know? I don't have anything that stood out.
There's just a lot of the stabbing and all that stuff, but they keep it to the same visceral, you know, like stabs and all that stuff like they've always had.
Yeah, and it goes all the way back to the first film where, I mean, it may have gotten slightly better, but not so, it wasn't so bad in the first film that it's a big notice that you're like, oh my God, this is so much better. Yeah, the kills are going to get better, but how it looks, it's always been pretty impressive. So I love the consistency of that.
I'll say this for it, and it has the benefit of being both newer, but also, I mean, even though the budget, I mean, for a later time period means this was actually, I mean, with inflation added in, was probably less than what Scream 3 was. I feel like that the image quality, just like in like the nighttime scenes and all that, were closer to being on par with the original versus like what we talked about with part 2 being a lot of like lighted, you know, overly lit scenes, and then part 3 being just kind of like a generic thing. This one went back and kind of like you see more of that contrast between light and dark in this one.
I wonder if that's because they went back to filming it during the day, but you know, changing it to night. Or if it was filming at night and then, you know, just making sure they had the proper lighting to make it, you know, visually where you could see everything.
I don't really know. It's just, it looks like there was a lot more effort put into this one as far as like making it, you know, look fresh or whatever, like it, you know, like it was a quality movie that way.
It did remind me a lot of the first one though. So I will give it that. Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, and it was direct. I mean, Kevin Williamson, because it's quote unquote the reboot. I mean, they were going back. There's stand-ins for a lot of the other characters. I think that's maybe in the trivia. If not, I do remember reading that, you know, because Billy is, you know, Trevor, you know, Jill, Sydney, you know, there's Kirby is technically Randy in a roundabout sense, a female version of him. And because she's like, but then that one kid, one pretends that he's gay. Let's see, Robbie or whatever. He's got a little bit of the Randy Stu stuff going on too. So I mean, I don't know. I guess Stu might be Charlie, but there's a little bit of blending there of some of the characters, but they do kind of harken back to the same character tropes and all that.
Yeah.
What do you think of the story?
It's starting to become same shit, different day. I hate to say this, but as the minute I found out that Jill was Sid's cousin, I knew she was the killer. I knew immediately. I was like, oh, this is a family? Well, for some reason, this family has a fucked up bloodline. So she is one of the killers, if not both. I didn't guess the guy right away, but it didn't take very long.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't get it like the first time that I watched it. I remember being surprised because I'm pretty sure I watched this one in the theater, and I remember being pretty kind of surprised because I guess I was so burnt by 3 that I just put like Scream out of my mind for like a bunch of years.
Yeah.
And then whenever, because I think we might have watched that one in the theater, but anyways, like when I watched this one, I was like, I wasn't thinking anything. And then whenever Jill, like, it's revealed that she's like psycho or whatever, I was like, that's interesting. I mean, that I wasn't expecting that. Charlie's a little bit more, they kind of, I mean, he's not that big of a reveal. Like, I mean, there's nothing to that.
He's he's got sad puppy syndrome for sure.
Although it did get me even this time rewatching it. I mean, I've seen it before. Same thing with Derek. Like every time I forget before the movie, and then when I get to the end, I'm like, was that or were they good? Were they not? Like that scene where Kirby is like seeing, because there's that callback to Casey Becker, in this movie where Kirby's there and she sees Charlie all tied up and she's having to do the trivia on the phone. And then whenever she goes out there to, release him, then he stabs her or whatever in the stomach. And then I was like, oh shit, I completely forgot that, he does that turn on her right then.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things I forget every time I've watched it, I've forgot it. I don't know. I like the commentary in this movie about like the social media stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's a neat twist. I feel like Kevin or, Williamson's went back and he's done, his homework, trying to update like new concerns for a different generation. At the time, whenever the first Scream came out, landlines, were the thing. The internet was barely, there. And then like now that the internet's ubiquitous, I mean, they have it in the point in the movie where the guy's got the little streaming doohickey on his head or whatever. Like, it's like, that he's working in the social media aspect to the kills now. And I thought that was good. And like I said, I enjoy that movie within a movie within a movie type thing that they
oh my
does
God,
at the
that
beginning
was
of it.
For sure one of my favorite parts of this movie.
I feel like the outside of Kirby, and then the principal characters, like and Allison Brie, like I think her character's kind of interesting the way that she portrays it. I feel like all the friends to Jill are just kind of like non-people, like in this movie. Like none of them really stood out to me. I don't know how you felt about that.
No, I'm gonna 100% agree with you, and I don't know if that was the intention or. You kind of have, well, obviously you've got Neve Campbell, you've got the originals. They don't count because, yes, they're going to stand out and you kind of expect to see them at this point, and we got that. So even they don't fully stand out. But then you got Emma Roberts, and Emma Roberts, she was very much up and coming, if not already, definitely on the rise already in this. And I think that's the hard part is because knowing Emma Roberts, most of her roles, that's another thing that kind of gave her away as the killer.
Knowing that she plays the bitchy, power-hungry characters in everything she plays.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's kind of what I walked into. I mean, I don't know. This movie was very, almost unexciting. There was very few exciting moments to it, but the ones that were super exciting, I mean, I was like, oh, boy, like, I'm fucking enjoying this. But I don't know. It felt like almost... Like I said, just another fucking scary movie, but also mixed with American Horror Story,
Just like how Finn Wolfhard makes everything Stranger Things that he's in, Emma Roberts makes it American Horror Story.
Yeah, that's just how I felt watching this, and I was just like, Also, I was getting Scream burnout at this point too.
Well, I'm gonna say something to that. Now, first of all, when was the first time you watched this?
Oh God, a few weeks ago.
Okay, so you didn't watch this back in the day.
No.
Okay. So that explains why you were expecting all that stuff with Jill. That explains that.
Yes.
Because like I said, if you'd watched it whenever it came out, because there was all those years. I mean, this came out in like what 2011, I think I said, and then the last Scream before that came out in 2000. There was that big long gap, so there was. I think that's why it was a little bit more of a shock when Jill had to turn or whatever, because there was so many years between, and unless you were one of those people that like just binge watched all the Scream movies right before you went in, which there might have been people that did that. I don't see that being happening. This movie's weird because when I first watched it, this was my least favorite Scream, even though I didn't like 3. I was just like, same shit, different day. I was the same boat you were, but having given it time to kind of marinate and like knowing that whenever I came back to it, I was like, I'd skipped this one for a long time. I was just like, I don't know if when I go back and rewatch it. And like, whenever I watched it for this, I was getting Scream fatigue by the 3rd movie. And then this one came back and it was kind of like a breath of fresh air. And I'm like, all right, let's watch 5.
Yeah.
It's different if you've given it time. I'll just put it that way. Like I've came back to it and I enjoy this movie more than I used to. Like I was in the same exact boat you were in, like 100%. And then like I watched it this time and I'm like, I've not give Scream 4 the credit that I should have gave it, because it's if you go back and you see how bad 3 got, especially like doing this review of all these, like 4 was really trying to pull everything back.
Yeah,
and like and there's a little bit of trivia about that too. This was supposed to be the start of a new trilogy. It didn't happen that way, but it was supposed to be.
An attempt was made.
Well, there's reasons why it didn't get made. It was a couple of things, and I think it's because of. I mean, it's in the trivia. I mean, the first thing there, but I'll just go ahead and say it. Wes Craven died a few years after this. He was suffering from brain cancer, so that's the reason. They never really got the ball rolling on making more sequels, which kind of stunk about it.
I noticed after 5 there was a big old message for Wes, and I was like, oh boy, I bet you he's so proud.
But yeah, the story's a weird one because, like I said, I appreciate it more now, than I used to. But I can see where you're coming from 100% because until this recent review of this, I had the same exact opinion you did of it.
I'm gonna give it this definitely a better storyline than 3 for sure. But it's also becoming a tired storyline because it's, like I said, it's always a family member, of some relation or a boyfriend, so yeah, it wasn't anything new. I was just like, oh, great, and okay. So American Horror Story started in 2011. I don't know exactly when Emma Roberts showed up. I want to say she showed up in Horror House. Maybe that was another actress that played the girlfriend that got buried.
She, I don't remember her having a major on-screen presence until
not
7,
major.
So
yeah. So okay. So American Horror Story was out, but I don't think she was quite in there yet. But I've seen Emma Roberts when she was in the comedy We're the Millers. That was a movie role, and I think she did that movie role pretty fucking well, which is not her typical character. She played her usual typical character in this film, but it felt like she was doing it for TV. The film acting wasn't there, and this is pretty early in the career, so I'm gonna give her a pass on that. I don't think it was her best acting.
I'm not gonna die on that hill. I agree with you.
Yeah.
She turns it up at the end and brings it back, but for most of the other parts of the movie, she's very she blends into the background. And
yeah,
that's not what you need from her character in this movie, if you want her not to, or to have kind of the red herring thing, then yeah, maybe. But I feel like if they were trying to set it up that she was going to be the new final girl, she needed to have enough personality to stand next to Neve Campbell, and she didn't.
100%. I didn't even think about it that way, but that is another point, a good point that you make about that. I just wasn't buying what she was selling. Maybe she wasn't giving me enough crazy. I don't know what it was. I feel like if we had a redo of this film, or if Emma Roberts could redo it again exactly with everybody, I feel like she really could bring a better presence to the screen.
Oh, 100%. I'll be honest with you. I think Kirby outshone her through most of the movie. Like, Kirby was the one character that stood out to me that upon rewatching this, of all the like high school kids.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Also, again, not buying a tiny ass little girl throwing whole ass bodies around. I don't even buy a little girl or a woman of any sort dragging a dead body, because dead weight is no joke. Now, you're not exactly dead when you get stabbed, so that might be easier to push somebody, but throwing them through something, not fucking buying it. So again, not buying the girl Ghostface killer. I think it's cute and adorable, but it's not a thing.
Well, now to give them credit, just looking back through the kills that were attributed to Jill, all of hers were sneak attack stabs on most people.
Yes, and
so
I do buy
that.
Yes, but when she threw somebody, because she did throw somebody, didn't she?
Every throw is attributed to Charlie.
Hold on.
Not that I feel like Rory Culkin looks like he's that manly to be able to do that either, but that's a whole other argument.
Right here, Rebecca Walters, stabbed in the stomach, thrown off many stories by Jill.
Okay.
So she did.
Yeah, but you're talking about Allison Brie. I mean, like, she's tiny too, so it's like if they were going to match her up with somebody, that would be the one to match her up.
Would be
with.
better, yeah. So, anyways, yeah. And then I just want to go back to the stabbing. I don't think that for anyone, even a guy that's stabbing through a chest. Have you seen Ghostface stab through doors too? He stabs through fucking doors like they're butter. A bathroom stall, which is usually made out of metal.
Yeah.
And pulls the knife back. No fucking way. Not a girl, not even a guy, but especially not a girl. So I don't know. I hate to.
The one time she stabs through a door in this, it's actually through the mail slot. So there's a little bit of leeway on that one.
100%. No, definitely. So I just
looking at the kills that they attribute to her, I'm going to give Williamson credit, because he actually, like, every kill that Jill did, like, was more understandable than the kills that Nancy Loomis was attributed to in part 2.
Yes, definitely. God, that stab in the forehead. Woo. But that's through a skull. Now, I have a question, because Noah couldn't answer it for me. Is there, okay, we talk about, I hate to say this word, we talked about retard strength before.
Yes.
Okay, is there some kind of strength for people that are psychotic? Do you think they have an overabundance of some kind of strength that's built within them because they're so fucking psycho?
I think there's a possibility for that, because you've heard of the phenomena where, like, say a mother sees that her child is like trapped underneath a vehicle or something like that car. And there's been like literally a woman the size of Emma Roberts has been able to pick up the edge of a car long enough for her kid to get out from under it. And that's on record. That's happened before. Yes. And it's due to adrenaline surges. Now you get people with psychotic rage, all the chemicals that are messed up in their brain, and like it's very possible that you could get something like that.
Okay, so now Emma Roberts goes up.
It would not be sustainable.
Yes.
It's more like, and this is for the geeks out there, like if you're playing like a role-playing game, there's barbarians and they get like these barbarian rages, they get adrenaline dumps and they go batshit crazy, but then they get fatigued afterward and they can't do anything. That's what would happen in real life if you had that sort of strength.
Okay, because I'm like, is it just something that you can get pumped up every time you're going to succeed at something, or, I mean, because like I said, she had a lot of sneak attacks, so she wouldn't need a ton of strength for that, but definitely needs some.
It depends on what triggers their outburst. If it's the thrill of the kill, then you could possibly bring it on that often. If it's some kind of weird kink related thing, then like Norman Bates, then you could probably bring it on that way, because of the way that dopamine and all that happens whenever you're doing with sexual thoughts and all that. But it would be hard. I mean, other than that, it would be hard to figure out another way that they could just at will bring that sort of thing about.
Okay.
Because most people, if you're going to have that kind of psychotic rage strength, it's like in the moment, like somebody, did something to piss them off or, whatever. And for these psychopaths, there has to be some kind of like, almost like sexual energy or something going on. Like they just love to kill so much that it just gets them amped up,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stretch in that sense, but it's
a stretch, but it's still possible.
Possibility there.
Yeah.
But like just going back to what you were talking about with the acting, like it's serviceable by most of the. I mean, like I feel like the principals do a good job. I mean, this is one of the better jobs that David Arquette's done in some of the movies.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
It's better in Part 5, but he's good
growing.
In this.
He's growing.
And it's just funny because I was getting ready to mention Marley Shelton and you say he's growing, and I was like, well, Marley Shelton would like him to grow a little bit when she's around, but that's a whole other thing. She does a pretty good job in this. I feel like she plays that character to the point like you kind of hate her because like she's causing so much strife between Dewey and Gale.
Oh, I know. I didn't like her immediately. But I am going to say that she's also, because I know this is jumping ahead just a little bit, but she is also really good in 5. So.
She is, yeah. It was hard watching this because, like, I saw that and my wife immediately took the same stance you did, just like that bitch.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
whore.
Yeah. And then, but I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, yeah, but she's that single mom that's really trying to take care of her kid in Part 5. Like, I'm conflicted. I understand what you're saying, but I still feel bad for her,
Yeah, but I mean, she could also be the single mom that's trying to get a little bit more assistance in life. And let me tell you, I mean, I don't think I even have to tell you. Just knowing Candy, the fire department and the police department, we know about that fucking lady who had a fucking, okay, that one officer.
That long black train.
Yes, okay, like they all just be sleeping with each other because they're always together. So.
Well, it's another thing too that ties in what we just talked about with the psycho strength. You're in high stress situations.
Yeah,
you're with the same people all the time. It's a way to relieve stress. I mean, and like, I don't know, when you've got that much stress going on, that much tension, and you're in close proximity, I mean, it's not an excuse by any means.
No,
it's
yeah.
just saying that you could see why it leads to that.
A little bit of a human nature, if you will.
Yeah. Same thing with hospitals. I mean, between like, nurses and doctors and that sort of thing, like, especially like ERs and all that stuff. What about the music in this movie? Like, I don't really feel like it stood out as much as some of the past ones, but maybe that's because it was a different generation and I don't really associate with this music as much.
Yeah, I didn't recognize anything. I even looked at the soundtrack, nothing there that stood out to me. Nothing other than original composed music. There's really no music again that I recognize.
It's funny because I feel like I recognize more of the songs in the 2022 version, even though it's newer and like the music's skewed for even younger. Like whenever I, was listening to like satellite radio and that sort of thing, I would listen to the alt radio, alt rock station or whatever, and they started playing like some of the stuff that was more like 5, whereas this one was like just kind of a bland, like poppy, whatever of that time period. And I'm like, yeah, I'm too old. I stopped listening to that shit probably about, a few years before, this movie came out.
Well, Screen 5 had, oh God, I thought that was Duran Duran, but it's not. Okay, they had SZA and DJ Khaled. You've heard them, whether you know them or not. You've definitely heard them.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Red Right Hand again. They had that.
Yes.
Let me see. I don't really see. Oh, Santa Gold. You would also know them even if you don't know who they are.
I feel like there was an alt rock band in that I feel like that I started recognizing the beat too right before it, and it was like I think while that guy who plays in 13 Reasons Why or whatever was like listening to it or something, and I was like, yeah, I know that song,
Yeah. I don't know. This is all I've noticed with the Scream 4 music is that at the beginning, very kind of chippy, kind of happy, appropriate, composed music for what we were watching, and then it just stayed dark after things started turning. So that's all I noticed. Nothing stood out, but that's a good thing again, because I didn't notice anything that was not appropriate.
Yeah, just looking at some of the, like Something to Die For, which I think I've heard of that one, but then like some of these others, like Cup of Coffee by the Novocaines, Make My Body the Chain Gang of 1974. I don't know any of these songs like this. Like it just doesn't stand out.
Yeah, and that might have been a budget thing. That might just be they don't really have to focus on music in this, although sometimes it helps.
It might also be, though, that, I mean, this was the transition period right after, like, music had kind of hit a wall with Napster, you know, and they were trying to figure out what to do with it. And like, I feel like a lot of music during this time period just came and went, because there wasn't really Spotify to kind of get it in people's ears again. And then, like, it was, you know, it was somewhere in that, you know, middle land, you know.
You know, it's sad because sometimes you could get your hands on a soundtrack before the actual movie came out, and they were fucking fire. Most soundtracks, you knew if it had a badass soundtrack, then it was going to be a pretty good movie. For the most part, you could almost guarantee. I remember when we got the Batman soundtrack, the original Batman by Tim Burton. Of course, the soundtrack was by, what's his name? Why can't I?
Danny Elfman.
Thank you. And I was like, what is this? This isn't music that I know. But it was still so good, obviously. Danny Elfman, even as a kid, I knew. Like, this is awesome. We got that before we got to see the movie. And then
I thought you were getting ready to break down and say, which that original soundtrack also had that Prince song on it.
Nope,
you know,
that was the second
Prince
one.
Songs.
That was the second one.
Yeah.
He did that album. It was the first. No, it wasn't the first. It was the second one. I thought, oh, no, it was the first, huh?
Yeah, the first one had the Prince songs, because that's when Jack Nicholson was like dancing and, you know, like and listening to the Prince song.
By the way, that's a completely separate soundtrack. There was two.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know they always did like the orchestral soundtracks as one, and then the pop soundtracks as another.
Dude, and Prince did that one, and it was legit.
But the original Batman score is amazing.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Getting way off topic, but kind of in a roundabout sense. I just thought whenever you started talking about Batman soundtracks, I thought you was getting ready to quote Kiss on a Rose.
Oh, hell no.
Kiss from a Rose. Because I remember that when that came out, and then there was that song by I believe it was Trent Reznor or something that was on that same album or something that and I remember that soundtrack when it came out. And then just it's funny though, the one that I remember the most from that time period was Dumb and Dumber, because there was a lot of good alt rock bands.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, they did. Okay. Remember how we were talking about Susie? Was it Susie and the Banshees?
Yes.
They did a song for the Batman album, the second one, called Face to Face, which is a fucking legit ass song. I know we're going on a banter here, but long story short is that where's the music? Where is the original motion picture soundtrack? That shit used to be amazing. I feel like that'd be a good money grab these days too.
They do those things, but I mean, they've gotten it to now to where the only way that you can get those is if you're into records, and if you pay like $50 to $60 just to get like the special limited edition, like colored print or something of a record that's like in limited quantities or whatever, that like through Waxworks or one of those places. They're the only people that really do those anymore. Like,
oh my God.
It's just funny, like with people of our generation, it's like we just remember going to the, you know, like Walmart or wherever, and like having all those CDs there, and then just like, you know, they were dirt cheap. Like you could buy whatever the fuck you wanted. And I
never bought at Walmart because for the longest time they had the clean version only.
Yes, they did.
That was the
about
worst.
Everything.
Absolute worst. I can't believe you would buy a CD, you pop that bad boy in, all of a sudden cuss words are being blurped out, and you're like, son of a bitch. Okay.
It's like that radio edit version of Everlast where they won't even say like smoke the finest green, like they cut that part out.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I know that's a reference to marijuana, but he doesn't even say the word. Like, come on.
Oh my God. It was wild. Anyways.
Is there anything else you want to say about this movie? Like I said, I understand completely where you're at. I can't even argue with it because I was in the same shoes you were with this movie. I was like, it's another one, whatever. It's better when you come back to it.
Okay.
It's a weird one.
Maybe I will in a couple years.
But do you want to move on to the trivia now?
Yeah, let's do trivia.
We recovered that about Wes, which was sad. He died in 2015. So,
wow. And he was young.
Yeah.
76. I mean, he's youngish.
Let's see. At 4 installments, this initially landmarked the Scream franchise as being one of the only horror franchises to have both of its main characters as well as its director return for all of its sequels.
Yeah.
Until the release of Scream 22, which features a new director as a result of Craven's death. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, consistently bringing back the same director and same principles. That's pretty good. Courtney Cox and David Arquette, who were married in 1999 after meeting during the making of Scream in 96, had filed for separation in October of 2010. Although there was slight tension on the set, they were said to remain professional and respectful of each other. They later divorced in May of 2012. So this movie came out right in the middle of their divorce.
Which kind of works in terms of the separation. Which
it works in terms of like her being pissed at Dewey and like all that shit that's going on.
Oh my God. Because it was like, I felt it, you know? And I was like, God, I must be just a super jealous person if like I'm feeling this passionate over what's going on. It could have just been reflected through her. But I mean, I imagine for the most part, as far as I know, they're pretty, what's the word when you describe a divorce that's, oh God, it's on friendly terms for the most part.
It starts with a C, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it's not consensual.
It's leaving me.
But anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they had their daughter, which I believe her name is Coco Riley, which I wonder if Riley is from Dewey Riley's name.
I wonder, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that's not where that comes from.
I mean, I love it. Yeah, Coco Riley Arquette. If that is what that is from, I fucking love her for that because they met on the set. Now, Coco is a mixture of Courtney Cox, so it's the CO and the CO. I know that much.
Were you thinking of amicable?
Amicable. There we go.
Yeah, that's another word that they use for that kind of separation.
Yeah, for the most part, they had that.
Yeah, and they worked together with the co-owned production company the two of them had for years after their divorce. So
yeah,
and we'll get into it in part 5, but there was a tearful, good way reunion between the two of them whenever they had to have their scenes on set in part 5.
Oh, that's good.
Dewey's limp, as a result of stab wound in the first film and shown to be quite prominent in the sequels, is no longer present in this movie. Although not explained on screen, the script dismisses it quickly with a screen direction note. His limp is nearly non-existent. Years of physical therapy.
Okay. Sure. At least it's a done explanation to explain it away, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, if that's what they got to do.
Yeah.
At around 6 minutes in the scene where Jenny, Amy Teagarden, explains to Marnie, Britt Robertson, the story about the Stab movies, she says Stab 5 has time travel, which is by far the worst. Wes Craven had the idea of time travel and dreams for A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, but the studio rejected it.
Okay, I immediately thought of Jason Voorhees, though. And his time travel.
Well, he teleports, he time travels, he does all kinds of weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At around 18 minutes, a bust of Henry Winkler, the former principal in Scream in 1996, can be seen briefly in the hallway. So at least they give Hembry, or whatever his name was, his due. There you go.
A bust of him? I don't understand. What's a bust?
It's like a statue from basically like the upper chest up to the top of the head. The first Scream movie this is the first one not to feature the song Red Right Hand by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
I wonder if the 6th will have it.
I don't imagine that it wouldn't. They brought it back in 5. They know what they're doing, so I mean they at least brought it back. Hayden Panettiere was very unhappy with all the rewrites and script changes that went on during production, especially in regards to a character, Kirby Reed, nearly quitting the film as a result.
But I mean, I don't know how old she was at this point, but she had a child and she went through some shit. Yeah, 2009 through 2011. I don't know when she had her kid though. And she was going through some mental stuff for a minute.
Oh, she almost had a Britney moment.
She kind of did, and I think because of it, she does not have custody of her child, although she gets to see her child.
Shit, that sucks.
Yeah. Anyways.
It is revealed that Woodsborough does have a stab movie marathon party every year. This is just like the town of Texarkana, which features the town that dreaded sundown from 1976 annually, which is about real life murders in Texarkana. It's movie in the park every October.
Oh my God.
The town that dreaded sundown is also mentioned in the first film when everyone deserts the streets for curfew. That's a real life thing, though. Like I don't think, if I remember right, they never found that killer.
What?
Yeah, the one. I'm pretty sure. Like I might be mistaking that for. I know the one in the Strangers was never found. The group that did the Strangers kills or whatever was never found. But like, and we can bring this up in Human Horror, but I'm pretty sure the town that dreaded sundown. Like I don't think that killer was ever found.
Do they still have a curfew?
No, I mean,
okay.
And they joke about it like they do in this movie, and and watch movies about the murders that happen there. Kristen Stewart turned down a role as the film's opening kill, believing that she couldn't match Drew Barrymore's performance from the first film.
Yeah, I think that's a smart choice.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice too, because I've never felt like she was a good actress, but.
Yeah, she's not, but I mean, well, I don't have complaints. I haven't seen a ton of movies that she's been in, but I'm sorry, Drew Barrymore's an icon, and I think that's very respectful for her to recognize that.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm if I'm not now, she is the one in Twilight, right?
Yes.
If I'm thinking right.
So she's very well-known actress,
Yeah, it's just that I've seen her in everything I've seen her in. She's very like, I mean, like we talked about Emma Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
Roberts doesn't really turn on the charm in this movie until like maybe the very last little bit.
Yeah,
that's Kristen Stewart. Everything
that
she's in, like
everything.
She's just there. I mean, it's not. She does a good frowny face, but that's about the extent of what I've seen her do. I mean, it's not really, there's nothing really to write home about with her.
I want to go on a tangent about her just briefly, but she got caught in a major cheating scandal where she was with not two dudes, but obviously she was with one guy, I think engaged to him, which was Robert Pattinson, and then got caught cheating with her director of that Snow White film she was in. Who was married, okay? And now she's a full-blown lesbian.
Oh, that explains her short haircuts that she went to recently.
She's full-blown lesbian, fine. I just find that so weird. She was after that dick, and now she's like, well, that caused me a lot of trouble. It's puss for me.
She was trying to find herself. She was just confused.
Well, couple guys found her first, so...
At least Pattinson can't be the one that feels bad about the fact that she turned a lesbian right after him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not
well, actually, they got back together. I don't know if she dated another guy after him. They got back together briefly. They tried to make it work out. It was never going to work. He was never going to get over that, and good for him.
Yeah, it's hard for any relationship to come back from anything like that because you can't have trust. I mean, it's, At around 1 hour and 11 minutes, when Kirby, Hayden Panettiere, and Charlie, Rory Culkin, are discussing trivia during the after party, Kirby makes a joke that she has powers. Hayden Panettiere starred in Heroes as Claire Bennett, who had the ability to regenerate.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's another little meta thing they threw in there for the actress. Deputy Hicks, Marley Shelton, is a nod to the character of the same name played by Michael Biehn in Aliens 1986. Shelton and Biehn had both been in Planet Terror 2007, 4 years before.
Oh, that's hella funny.
Cool reference.
Yeah.
On the wall of the cinema club room, a poster for Death Proof, going back to Planet Terror, is clearly visible. And Marley Shelton was also in Death Proof, so there's that connection. And of course, Rose McGowan was also in that film as well. So it's tied back to the original Scream.
What movie studio were those movies?
They had to been Miramax,
Okay.
like, because Rodriguez, like, same as Scream, like he worked with that company continuously. Him and Quentin Tarantino. If either one of them, especially Tarantino, ever disavowed Harvey Weinstein, they're full of shit. Because I know that at least Quentin Tarantino had to have been, like, in on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
He was just too buddy with Weinstein at that point.
Oh my God. It's a slight tangent, but not so much Death Proof, but Planet Terror, Halloween Horror Nights.
I'd be down for that. I mean, I love that little how they filmed it and how it's like a complete throwback to, like, B movies.
Oh my God, that would be freaking amazing. And not only they could have, like, the hospital, there's so much they could do with it.
It'd be tough for them to do Death Proof, but they could work it in there. If they was able to do Black Phone, they could do Death Proof as well.
I said not Death Proof because I just don't think you can. Other than having that car jump through at you every now and then, and I don't really think it's doable, but definitely Planet Terror. And there was one more. What was the other one? Death Proof, Planet Terror.
Those were the ones in that movie, unless you're talking about the little interstitial trailers that they did.
Oh God, Machete.
Machete, the Werewolves of the SS, or whatever that
Oh my God.
Rob Zombie did.
No, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Emma Roberts auditioned for the film mostly out of nostalgia, as she grew up on watching the Scream movies, although she is scared of horror films in real life. She also wanted to step out of her comfort zone and play against type, having mainly done family films prior. So this was right before her turn as a horror.
That's so funny. And now that's all she plays. So she's kind of just, she's a two-trick pony.
It's the same thing, though, with Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis, I was just listening to a podcast or to a YouTube video today that the Dead Pit guys did. They were interviewing this one guy. He always does, like, these special features on disc. Sean, I can't remember his last name right now, but he always does, like, these videos where he goes to, like, horrors, hallowed grounds or whatever, like where he goes to the actual places where they film the locations of the movies.
Yeah.
And anyways, he was talking about that stuff. There was this big blow up with Tony Moran, who was like Michael Myers for like a split second. Dude's totally psycho. He's like he's trying to pull down everybody around him and get them all in trouble because he's so fucked up himself.
Damn.
And he was just mentioning that Sean was mentioning on that podcast, or that he was about Jamie Lee Curtis, and like he said, like, she's a legit about being like, she, even though she's been on all those horror films, like, she cannot watch them. He said that anytime that he's been with her at like conventions, because he's like kind of the guy who's the handler, in those situations where he takes care of the horror, actress or actor while they're there at the convention. He said that anytime they've did like screenings of those movies, she is like very adamant that she, that they do the best they can to keep her from having to watch it, because she's just that scared of them. It's just weird.
I don't fucking get it. I can get starring in a movie that, I don't know. I think that I would be a horrible placement. First of all, I'm not an actress, so I'd be a horrible actress in general. But if you put me in a horror film, I'm going to have a great time. Put me in a zombie film, which is, I'm going to put it in its own fucking genre, okay? Because I just can't. I don't think that I could do it. I don't know that I could fake it. The zombies would have to be super, super duper cool with me and be like, okay, Raina, we're going to be pulling out your guts, And I'd be like, okay, guys, thanks for letting me know, There'd have to be a lot of joking for me to be able to be on the film. Clearly, I can watch zombie films. It's hard, but I still can't understand. God, you know what? Flipping switches here. Maybe I would have a hard time. Obviously, I just said I'd have a hard time with zombie films, but also possession films. Maybe I couldn't. Maybe I can understand.
Well, it's two things about that. First of all, that guy's name's Sean Clark, so to give him credit, that's the one who's speaking about all that stuff. And secondly, it's funny you say that because I told you, online on Discord that I watched Warm Bodies again.
Yeah.
And I was watching the behind the scenes on that 4K that I got in, and it's hilarious because they have the zombies there, but then they had like Rob Corddry, and he was like cracking jokes about like trying to find cocaine and stuff like that while he was dressed up as like a zombie. So they would be joking around, like
that would be the best fucking set to be on. But like a legit zombie, like I said, they'd have to be super super cool with me. They'd have to ease me into whatever scene they're closing in on me. Okay, so maybe
what would happen though. You would get a director who would not tell you that something was about to happen, and then he would film your reaction to it.
It would be a genuine reaction because I apologize to Emma Roberts. I understand now.
Scout Taylor Compton auditioned for the role of Jill Roberts, and she's big in the horror community because of course she was in the Rob Zombie Halloween films or whatever, and very very attractive woman on top of that. And then Selena Gomez was considered for the role of Jill.
Okay, I could see that, believe it or not. I could see Selena Gomez pulling this off.
Well, I was going to say I couldn't, but then I've seen her play psychotic roles in several things recently, so yes, I could.
Yeah.
Scout Taylor Compton could have done it too. She's good at horror films. Jenna Coleman was considered for the role of Olivia Morris. That's kind of an odd one. I don't know if you know much about Jenna Coleman. She was in Doctor Who for a bit there, and as Daphne can tell you, a lot of fans don't like her character because she started out fine, but then they kind of made her too important in the Doctor Who's history, kind of retconning things to make her have more of a purpose. And she was kind of like a companion, as they call it, that the humans that basically board the TARDIS with the Doctor and fly around with him or whatever. She was one of those that was I know it all. Though the Doctor had lived over 1,000 years by the time that he met her. And he'd been all over the universe. Somehow this teacher from rural Britain always knew more than he did.
Yeah. Jenna Coleman's pretty fucking adorable.
She is. She is one. Even people who didn't like her as a companion will admit she was one of the hottest companions, if nothing else. So
yeah, she's adorable, but she also looks like she could be psychotic, which is I don't know. I like it. But that's just off of
Kim Rhodes was considered for the role of Kate Roberts.
That I could have seen that. I think she would have done a good job.
She would have done a good job.
Yeah. She already had that mom, she was already kind of a mom figure anyways.
Yeah, especially after all those years on Supernatural at this point, that she would have been at that character. Gal Gadot and Gabrielle Union auditioned for the role of Rebecca Walters before Alison Brie was cast. It's so weird because the way that Alison Brie played it, obviously she comes from a comedy background. She played the character as kind of bumbling. Gal Gadot would have not had that same energy at all.
Gal Gadot, also gorgeous woman, but she's always looked like a woman, and she doesn't. A mature woman, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, she wouldn't have had that younger, fresh-faced character Allison did. Our favorite, Christina Ricci, actually did a screen test for the role of Deputy Judy Hicks.
I would have loved that.
Yeah, that would have been really good. And then Leah Shawcott had one for Kirby Reed. She was the actress. If you've seen the movie Final Girl, she was the best friend to Tessa Farmiga in that movie, but she was also she played in Arrested Development. She was one of the characters. She was with the daughter or the cousin to Michael Cera's character in that film or that show.
Yeah. I wonder. I want to go back real quick to. Okay. Why did Christina Ricci not? She had a test, but what did it not work out?
I guess they just didn't decide to go with her, and which is sad. It's weird too because I want to say that there was a movie that came out after this. Maybe it was before, She was in a movie called Cursed. No, it was 2004, so that's what it was.
Hold on, I'm looking right now.
I don't remember if that was. Well, that movie was produced by Kevin Williamson, so she had links to the people who did this sort of movie. So I don't know why she never got it.
Yeah, hold on, I'm looking. I don't see anything. What is happening with my chair right now? It feels like something's moving my chair and it's freaking me the fuck out. Sorry. I'm like getting mad, like as if there was a spirit and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to back off. She's getting pissed.
I'm going to stop because you're getting pissed.
Yeah, I am because it's like it keeps moving and it's freaking me out. She was on a TV show called Pan Am.
Cursed was directed by Wes Craven and the writer was Kevin Williamson, the same people who Scream. So I don't know why she didn't get the role in Scream 5 or 4.
Well, she had two things going on in 2011. I mean, granted, she had Pan Am going on, which, I mean, that only lasted for a year. And then The Smurfs also in 2011. Another movie I never heard of called Bucky Larson.
That movie is ridiculous.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Alpha and the Omega, which was in 2010. That was an animated film. Hold on. Let me see if there's anything else. So I would say her 2010, 2011 was pretty fucking busy. I wonder if it just couldn't work out schedule-wise.
That would be the only thing I could think of because she had literally done a werewolf movie with both the writer and the director, the same writer and director as the Scream movies.
Yeah.
She had an in like 100% that way.
Holy shit. Okay.
The role of Chloe, that was played by Kristen Bell, and Rachel, played by Anna Paquin, were written for Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I love Lindsay Lohan. Okay. And I know Paris Hilton had done, what was it, the Wax Museum?
The House of Wax.
House of Wax. Okay. Now, I have not heard anything bad about Paris Hilton in that movie. What say you?
You've not heard anything bad about her in that movie?
Yeah.
The reason that I enjoy that movie is because she gets killed in that movie.
Yes. No. I know that. I know she does, but I haven't heard anything about her having the worst acting or anything like that.
Well,
and no one said anything like she's the greatest.
She was playing herself.
Okay.
So it was hard for her. I mean, she wasn't playing herself in the sense that she was literally playing Paris Hilton, but she was playing a character very much inspired by Paris Hilton.
Okay.
So it was like, it's hard not to be able to act when you're basically yourself. You know?
But anyways, no, in terms of the roles of Chloe, and Lindsay Lohan, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I wouldn't like to see her in a horror film. Has she been in a horror film? I don't think she has,
but it's a very minor one. She plays. It's this movie where she's trying to solve her own death. There's a twist there, but she's supposedly she's trying to find who killed her or something in the movie.
Well, I mean, that sounds interesting to me, but maybe not at this time, but definitely Lindsay Lohan, mature and out of her wild stage now, 100%.
The outfit that Trevor, Nico Tortella, wears in the final act of the movie is the same outfit that Neil Prescott wore in the final act of Scream. Trevor is also bound and gagged identical to Neil Prescott.
Oh, wow.
So they linked it back. At around 1 hour and 5 minutes, despite the unrealistic way Deputy Perkins walks around after being stabbed in the head, this is actually medically accurate. Director Wes Craven was watching a television special about a man who was stabbed in the head just the way Perkins in the film was, and the man actually took himself to the hospital. I
mean, I was buying it. First of all, good job on the actor. Second, this is coming straight off of the scene we saw where the guy had the nail in his head, or the fucking it was a nail, a rail nail, if you will. No, it wasn't.
Are you talking about in Tucker and Dale?
Not Tucker and Dale. Well, yeah, I guess that too. My Bloody Valentine, the original, the 1986 one. There was a guy that got a bolt in his head, and his vision was all blurry and everything. So that's exactly how I imagine him in this case, where he was stabbed right in the middle of the head, and he's like, his brain's just trying. He's fighting fight or flight, you know.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah, the
Anthony
heavy
Perkins,
set,
there we go.
miner or whatever. He had the bolts through the head, and he stumbled his way back to the other people before he died. Yeah.
Anthony Anderson fucking sold that scene for sure.
Oh yeah, he for sure did.
Yeah.
Unlike nearly every other character in the franchise, the fate of Kirby was never confirmed. According to Wes Craven, the shooting script included a scene near the end where Kirby is revealed to have survived, but the scene was cut during production. Later on the DVD and Blu-ray commentary, Craven stated, "As you can see, Hayden is still moving, not saying she's coming back for sure. Although Kirby did not appear in Scream 2022, an Easter egg in the film confirms that she survived. There's a YouTube thumbnail that can be seen at one point reading interview with Woodsborough survivor Kirby Reed."
Wow.
So Kirby is still alive, folks, which means that she could come back in a later. If Panettiere wants to come back, she could technically come back in one of the sequels now.
I bet you they'd make her a killer.
Well, they might. I don't know. Many fans of Scream 1996 have pointed out that although Tatum's death was a great set piece, here's where we're talking about the garage again. Garage door motors are not strong enough to lift a person off the ground and have safety mechanisms in place to make her murder impossible. The opening sequence of this movie, however, has a garage door closing a victim and then rise again once the safety sensors are tripped. This is more akin to what would actually happen if one were to crush someone in a motorized garage door. Or try to crush someone.
I think it could have pulled her fat ass up. I'm buying the original one, okay? And just kidding. She was not fat by any means. She was pretty fucking tiny. But the way that it fell and then, like, I just left it, okay?
A common criticism aimed at the sequels also is that Dewey Riley never once visibly mourns or acknowledges his sister's death. Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson attempted to correct this by having a scene where a fellow officer tells Dewey that Jenny was crushed with a garage door before her death, and it reminds Dewey of his sister's death. But that scene was ultimately cut from the film. But you can find it as the deleted scene on the DVD and Blu-ray.
I'm gonna bring it around back downtown. Okay, I want to talk about this potential Kirby being still alive and potentially becoming the killer, because the reason all of this keeps happening, they would have to get Nev Campbell on board, though, is because fucking Sydney's still alive. And maybe Kirby would think that if they could just get rid of Sydney, all of this would be fucking over. So she wants to kill Sydney to fucking end it. There we go. I am for hire. If anyone wants my movie idea, it's for sale.
Well, what if Sydney and then that chick who played fake Sydney in Stab 3 came back, and they were both the killers in one of the sequels that are coming out?
I don't like it. No. There's so many possibilities. I'm just throwing out for the Kirby portion, but you are onto something for sure. But how would that involve Kirby?
Well, I mean, Kirby's got the intent, and then you have that one chick, and she's always wanted to,
so that way there's two killers.
Kind of a little bit of a single white female thing going on where she wants to take over Sydney's life or something.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, that's what I was thinking.
I really hope it's Stu that's back in the new one, but that's just me.
Yeah.
This film was intended to be the first of a new trilogy, and pre-production for the fifth film had actually gone underway after this film's release, with the main cast of Campbell, Arquette, Cox, Shelton, and Hayden Panettiere reprising the roles, with Kirby revealed to have survived. Unfortunately, with Wes Craven's death combined with Scream, the TV series, serving as a franchise reboot, those plans were initially abandoned until Scream 2022 was made, with everyone except Panettiere returning. This is the first film in the franchise since Scream 1996 in which the killer is among first pictured on the poster.
Oh my God. Hold on. Stop. Wait a minute. Let's pull up Scream 6. I just want to see who's that. Well, I guess Scream 5, huh? So Scream 5. Let's look at the poster. I'm not going to spoil anything. Hold on. No, I don't think so. Yep. Both of the killers are on the Scream 5 poster.
Okay, so that means that Scream 6 could have the killers on the poster too. That's interesting.
Hold on, I'm looking at another Scream 5 poster, but I don't know if this is what... No, that's not right, because that's Hayden Panettiere. She's not... No, that's not right. I'm sorry. I'm looking at other posters to see if there is, because I don't know. It's hard to tell now what's a fan poster and what. No, this is the IMDb. So that's
I think all the main posters just had like faces on them. They got really lazy with this series when it came to posters.
Hold on. So in Scream 6, it's got there's a guy, there's two people at the very bottom. I can't really see them. No, that's a TV show. But that looks like the movie poster, and I don't know. It's got mostly the originals, but it's got some people at the bottom. You could barely see their face. Oh, wait, here they are. Okay. Oh, he survived. Okay. Oh, yeah, I remember he survived at the end. They got some new kids. It's hard to tell, but there's some new people on there. Ghostface is in the center, so it's possible that he is in the poster, but as Ghostface only if it's Stu. So, anyways.
Alrighty. A treatment for an early version of the script would have had Jill actually get away with the murder she committed. Even though Sidney survived, she would have amnesia and not remember that Jill was one of the ghost faces. Kirby survived too, with Hayden Panettiere reprising her role. Jill would have been targeted by a ghost face attack, with the implication being that they know she was one of the ghost faces. This ending was ultimately scrapped.
I mean, I wouldn't have been disappointed with that.
It would have been hilarious if it would have been Hayden as Ghostface in that alternate ending.
Yeah.
Trying to get back at Jill for what Jill did to her.
Or if Hayden was framed, meaning because she was out of it, and if they kind of put the weapons near her and everything, that'd be fucked up.
There was a lot of people in that Scream 6 poster. Anyways.
I was like, what are you doing? Yeah, there are a lot of people, and there's a lot of unknown people, too.
Yep. Jill Roberts kills more victims in this movie than any other ghost faces. That includes Roman, who was a single ghost face by himself.
That's insane because, all the kills were him, and, I mean, well, not all of them. Some of them were Dewey, but, one of them.
Trevor, Jill's boyfriend, was originally meant to be Ghostface in early drafts of the script, but this idea was quickly vetoed after it was seen as too derivative of the first film.
And I did think it was Trevor. Yeah, I did think it was Trevor at first. Like I said, as soon as what's her name walked in and got in the car, and they were like, Trevor called me, whatever was going on in that scene, I was like, oh, it's her and Trevor.
Kate Roberts was supposed to be a red herring in the original cut. After Olivia Morris is killed, Kate would step out of the house to look for Jill Roberts and tell Sidney that she was out cold from making a mistake with her medication, raising suspicion of her. This scene was ultimately deleted, along with numerous other scenes with Merrick McDonald's Kate.
Okay.
And now we're on to the Death Holler Awards. So in this movie, we technically have two final girls in a roundabout sense. We have Jill and Sidney.
Shut
Although
up.
Jill's the killer, but she's trying to set herself up as a final girl.
Yeah, do you have this set up in the fifth one too?
The fifth one's not. No, they're not trying to do that in the fifth one. They're just wanting. They've got different motivations. We'll get to that in the fifth movie. That's not. They're not trying to be the final girl in that one.
Okay.
What do you think? I mean, obviously Jill's not, but that's what she was trying to be.
It's hard because I never ever bought Jill as the final girl, or excuse me, as not the killer.
Yeah, for you already had her assumed to be, so there was nothing big about that.
So I was messed up, so I can't even pretend. I guess I'll say this: it would have been kind of cool that the whole time I thought she was Ghostface and she actually wasn't. So
I think this is the closest time that Sidney's came to dying in any of the films.
Yeah.
Because they actually do the thing that most slashers do, and they have her in the hospital after. So.
Yeah, they have her in the hospital. She gets fucked up in 5, and we'll get to that. So,
what do you think about the killers in this one, Jill and Charlie?
Boring. The motivation to me was, I get the social media thing, and I do respect Kevin Williamson for throwing that in there, because it's not like it doesn't make sense, but it was I was like, ugh. I don't know. Maybe it was just because the delivery specifically by Jill that I was like, boring,
I don't know. I feel a different way. I liked Jill. Now, Charlie was just dull.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything out of him, but I liked I liked her whole like motivation. Like it seems like something. Maybe that's just me being an old man. Like get off my lawn and all that.
Yeah.
But, like I could see somebody who's like younger, like millennial type. It's like I'm going to get fame. I'm going to like skirt the system no matter what it takes. So that means killing people. It ties back to Tragedy Girls in a weird way. Because that's kind of the gist of that movie.
I just feel like the family thing is old. And like I said, it's like, oh, that's her cousin. Oh, that's the killer. Because, like I said, it followed it too hard. And they like didn't want to have, I forget what part of the trivia you're like, well, if it edged a little too close to the first film. Oh, yes, the boyfriend, Trevor. But yet they still did the family thing. And I'm like, well, this family's got a fucked up bloodline,
It all goes back to Maureen Prescott. She was such a whore.
And she
shaking that thing all over town.
At the end, she just came off like a whiny little brat that just, a fame whore. I get that's how they're going to be. And I was just like, I don't like it. So
I think that's the reason I enjoyed it, because he was taking the piss out of that character by making her such a whiny little, and then even when she could have got away with it, when she hears that Sydney's alive and then she pulls that thing where she just like, I'm going to go kill the bitch. It's like, well, you're obviously not getting out of it now because you're in a hospital. Like, how are you going to even attempt to, make that look like it was, that she died on her own?
Yeah.
Best kills, defibrillator, and then the gunshot.
For me,
just point blank.
Yeah. For me, it's the knife through the head.
That was pretty visceral.
Yeah.
But anytime that you go an alternate route in these movies, especially, that's not a knife. It's, that's not a knife.
Yeah.
It's it's a defibrillator.
Yeah, that's true.
I prefer that.
I just liked his will to live, and it was just so hard to watch that. Like, oh, this has got to be the fucking worst. He wanted so hard to live and he didn't. So that's why it was it for me. The only thing I'm not buying is that she was able to get that knife through his skull.
I feel like if the knife's sharp enough, it doesn't take much. But yeah, she was a weakling, so there is that. Best scream is probably Alison Brie. That's the one that I remember the most. I mean, Rebecca Walters. I mean, because none of the other ones really stood out to me.
I mean, the knife through the head's kind of, well, no, I guess not, because he didn't really give that much of a scream, It
was more of a surprise, like yelp or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a scream.
Yeah, so I don't think I can dispute that one. Yeah, Rebecca.
The best killer motive. So Charlie in this one wants to be a hero in the movie of his life, and then Jill wants internet fame by being the traumatized final girl. Kudos to the semi-interesting change for Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie's, I just feel like, was on the bottom end or whatever. He's like one step above, in my opinion, like Nancy Loomis.
Yeah, I'm going to say it again. He had sad puppy syndrome. I don't hate his motive because much like in the film, he was a nobody and he wanted to be a somebody. But he just didn't have the chops, Yeah.
And then he gets stabbed through the heart.
And Jill just seems so jealous of Sydney. So, I don't know. But it's a good motive. She was psycho.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you're talking about like her motivation, like she's somewhere above the mid-range. Like she's, maybe one step up, but we've not got the next movie to kind of compare it to. So we'll get to that when we get there. The Doom Prophet, who was the expert in this movie that really knew about remakes? Was it Robbie? He talked a little bit about and Kirby had a little bit of knowledge about like, but she didn't really specify though. Like her, she was more like, her movie knowledge was more like it was brought up in different ways. Like it wasn't deliberately that. Like they went straight to whenever they were trying to get ideas for like what killers were doing. Reboots. They went to Robbie and Charlie in that sense.
Yeah. I don't know. No, I can't even say Dewey because he knows. Is he going to be? He's not going to be the Doom Prophet, obviously, in every single one. But like. I don't know. It doesn't feel like we have a genuine one, even though we had Randy.
This one's a little bit harder to gauge because nobody had a Randy moment in this one.
Yeah, exactly. I don't feel like we had that.
I'm giving the best side character to Kirby because, you know, if you look like Hayden Panettiere, but then like know all that stuff about horror films, you know, 100%, you're cool shit. So there you go. Dumbest moment is Kate Roberts relaxing in front of the door with the mail slot. Like, seriously, it's like this killer's still there. Why the fuck would you? I mean, I know she wasn't thinking in that moment, but like, get the fuck away from the door.
Undisputed. Yeah, and not only that, I mean, maybe they don't know, but I mean, have you not seen any of the stab movies? This killer can stab through doors.
I mean, it's another moment where Sydney's like right there and like, you know, she sees somebody die. But this case, it's definitely not like Scream 2 where she got the other person killed. The other person got themselves killed in this case.
Yeah.
And then there's the comparisons to Tragedy Girls. Like, I mean, I just think going back to that, I think it's interesting that, Tragedy Girls kind of like took this plot, it seemed like a little bit, and kind of maneuvered it around and like made it even more of a thing where there's like not just one but two fame starved, you know, like younger people trying to skirt this, you know, all the regular ways to get money and fame and all that by just, you know, being victims, as it were. So I just find that's an interesting, you know, comparison between the two of whenever I was like watching this. I was like, okay, that'd be an interesting one to compare it to.
Yes.
Rounding this out, we're going to part 5, the requel from 2022. Tagline: It's always someone you know.
It always fucking is. Ain't that the goddamn truth?
Directed by Matt Bettinelli Alpin and Tyler Gillette. Written by James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick, based upon characters by Kevin Williamson. Music by Brian Tyler. Made for a budget of $24 million, so half the budget of Part 4, but it made $140 million. So this is back up to original Scream numbers.
Yes, it is. Damn.
And this is during the period whenever all the bullshit stuff was on, Disney was putting out there, especially.
Yeah.
Well, our box office numbers are smaller due to COVID. Well, first of all, it's 2 years since COVID, bitch.
Yeah.
Secondly, if Scream can come out and make that kind of numbers that they, you know, same kind of thing that they used to make back in the day, your movies just suck now. So you need to understand that.
You need to bump those up because those are rookie numbers.
Those are rookie numbers for sure. Principal players in this: Melissa Barrera playing Sam Carpenter, who is our final girl in this movie. It's not Sydney. It's actually Sam, because they are restarting in the franchise. She was in a movie called Bed Rest, and she's known probably more for In the Heights. Jack Quaid, coming back from Tragedy Girls, has played Richie Kirsch, who is Sam's boyfriend and Ghostface #1.
Numero uno.
Mickey Madison plays Amber Freeman, Tara's ex-best friend and Ghostface #2. And she was in a Quentin Tarantino film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Thought she looked familiar.
Jenna Ortega plays Tara Carpenter, Sam's little sister. And of course, we've talked about Jenna already on Wednesday. She was also in X, which we will be covering at some point this season because it is a modern slasher and set in the past. So it's weird that way. And then Studio 666. And then, of course, she was in the Netflix show You.
I did not know that. Question, was Jenna Ortega, was she not a final girl?
She technically is a final girl in a roundabout sense, so I would put her. Although it's weird with this movie because they introduced the concept of final girls in a sense, but then like Sam's the one that they focus on more because I feel like Tara's more of the impetus to make Sam become the hero that she's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I would you're right. Tara would also be a final girl. Nev Campbell, the original Final Girls, back to Sidney Prescott. She's married now and a mother of 3.
Fucking wild. Which, hold on, I want to point out right now, what kind of husband who is a cop, ex-cop, I don't know what he is at this point, lets her go to handle this shit or check on it?
Yeah, Patrick Dempsey never once shows up the entire time that she's gone.
And like, even if they couldn't afford Patrick Dempsey, okay, and they're like, well, they didn't have to say she married him. They could have been like, oh, well, she married this rando, you know.
Yeah, but Dewey asked her, it's like, how's Mark? So it is the same guy.
No, I know that, but if they couldn't afford him,
they could have recast him.
Yeah, 100% recast him, or I don't know. Anyways, point being, what the fuck, dude? He's gonna stay home and handle oh, you've got this, babe. You've survived fucking 4 movies already, so, you know.
Patrick, you got some splaining to do.
Yeah, what the fuck?
David Arquette playing Dewey Riley again. Now he's a retired hermit and he's got chronic pain.
I bet.
I guess all those that physical therapy he got in part 4 it didn't take. So he's back to the way he was.
You get older and you fucking start falling apart. It happens. We get it.
Yeah. That's so sad, but it's true. Courtney Cox is back playing Gail Weathers. She's divorced, both in reality and in the movie, and then leads her own morning show. So Gail has made it finally. Marley Shelton is back playing Sheriff Judy Hicks. She finally upgraded from being a deputy, and now it's revealed that she apparently had a kid during part 4 because now he's a high school senior. So there you go. Oh,
okay. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And how far? What's the time frame between the 2 movies?
11
years. So she had like a 6-7-year-old at that point, maybe 8-year-old.
Yeah, a little bit of a retcon there, because it's never mentioned in the movie, but there you go. Jasmine Savoy Brown plays Mindy Meeks Martin, which is Randy's niece.
Oh yeah.
Mason Gooding is playing Chad Meeks Martin, which is Randy's nephew. Kyle Gallner plays Vince Schneider, who is an ex to live, and it turns out it's Stu's nephew.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and Kyle's been in several horror movies. He was in one of the ones that we discussed from Shudder, the one of the possession films or whatever that they have on there. Pretty good one at that. Dylan Minette plays Wes Hicks, Judy's son and Tara's friend. He's kind of got a little bit of the Randy vibe. He's pining after Tara a little bit. And then he's actually a member of the Wallows band, because whenever I was doing research for this, and I looked on IMDb, it kept saying starred in Wallows video, number whatever, like repeatedly. And I got to look and I was like, oh, he's in the band. That's the reason he's in all their videos. Biggest thing that he's known for recently, though, is 13 Reasons Why, and then the sequel that came after that. He was also in Don't Breathe, and then the movie Let Me In, which is a pretty good vampire movie. Rob Fortunato plays Deputy Clay, Tara's assigned protector. He's in the movie for like 0.01 seconds as a dead body, basically. Sonia Amar plays Liv McKenzie, a girlfriend of Chad Meeks Martin. And I don't know, she's kind of got some bitchy shit going on toward the end of the movie. I didn't really feel too bad when she died, which is unfortunate, but she was giving all kinds of shit to Chad.
Oh,
I didn't feel like
he
really deserved it at that point. And weirdly, there's a bunch of cameos that are uncredited in this movie. One of them is Skeet Ulrich is back as Billy Loomis because he's hallucinations for Sam, and we'll get into that. Matthew Lillard, though, his voice is overheard during a flamethrower sequence.
Okay.
Jamie Kennedy is overheard at a party as Randy Meeks again. Heather Matarazzo comes back as Martha Meeks. You can actually see her in the movie. She's back from part 3, which is a nice little bit of continuity between the movies. Drew Barrymore is actually the voice of the principal now.
That's funny.
Talking about the curfew, which is hilarious. And then Adam Brody and Hayden Panettiere have voices that are in this movie. So they brought. And Adam was a sheriff that died, so I don't know why, but their voices are in the movie at points. Synopsis: it's been 25 years since the original Woodsborough murders, and some enterprising killer is restarting the franchise. This time, the killer, plural, is intent on cashing in on the requel fad, bring back the originals, kill them, and restart the franchise with fresh new faces for a new generation. The stakes are higher, the deaths are gorier, and no one is safe. Don't see it alone. Which is not the best tagline, but they had the perfect tagline by saying it's always someone you know. So there you go.
Yeah.
There you are. Body count's a little bit lower on this one. There's only 8. Vince Schneider gets stabbed in the neck by Ghostface Amber Freeman with a knife, causing him to bleed out while Red Right Hand is playing. Sheriff Judy Hicks is stabbed 8 times in the stomach by Ghostface Amber Freeman with a knife. That one I felt big time.
Yes.
I mean, I know you hated this, or you kind of hated Judy in the previous movie, but like I felt real bad for her, and like she was so worried for her son, and then just like get killed right on the doorsteps to her house. That's rough.
Well, 2 things you need to know. I saw this movie before I saw part 4, because I'd just seen part 4 a few weeks ago. And I didn't realize, for whatever fucking reason, did not realize that they were the same sheriff. So,
well, she wasn't a sheriff; she was a deputy.
Yeah. Well, excuse me. Yeah, I didn't realize it was the same actress. Was not paying attention.
Wes Hicks is stabbed through the throat, out the side of the neck by Ghostface. That one was rough too, because just how it stood right on him, like while it was happening. I'll give him credit for. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Skipping ahead a little bit, the kills in this, even though there's less of them, they are brutal. Mm-hmm. They are gory and they are brutal in this movie.
Fuck
like
around.
They went back to the drawing board on the kills in this one. Deputy Clay has his throat slashed by Ghostface Amber Freeman with a knife off camera, although they show his body. Dewey is sadly leaving the franchise at this point because he is stabbed in the back and the stomach by Amber Freeman with 2 knives, and then killed when Amber pulls the knives upwards and cuts his stomach open.
Yes, that was when you knew it was over.
Yep. She does give him his due, though. She does say it's been an honor before she leaves him.
Oh, yeah.
Liv McKenzie is shot in the head by Amber Freeman with a pistol, and that one was out of nowhere toward the end of the movie. It's just like when Amber reveals herself, she's like, die, bitch, and then just blows her brains out. But really graphic. I mean, the blood splatter and everything against the wall. They really sold it.
Hold on. You said, you said she was kind of acting like a bitch towards the end, and you're right, she was. Her character was pissing me off, but people kept accusing her of being the killer. They
did, and then she gave that line to Randy's niece, saying, it's like, well, what if I was the killer?
Oh,
and like trying to hint, and it's like, oh, you fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Richard Richie Kirsch, Ghostface number 1, is stabbed through both cheeks several times in the stomach and chest, throat slashed with Amber's knife, and then shot 3 times by Sam, Carpenter, and Loomis. Mm-hmm. So there you go. And then Amber Freeman, Ghostface, is shot repeatedly by Sidney Prescott and Gail Weathers Riley, set on fire with an oven stove light while covered in hand sanitizer, burning half of her face off, and then shot in the eye by Tara Carpenter. So Tara gets one of her kills before the end of the movie.
Yeah.
They really, really took the killers out in this movie. Like, there is no killer in any of the other movies that went through the shit that these 2 fuckwads did. So
yeah, I mean, like, they all the rule they always come back is shoot them in the fucking head,
Yeah, and they had to. I mean, that's what they had to do. Quotes, Sidney Prescott, Sam, I want you to help us kill him.
Yes.
Sam, you want me to help you and the host of a morning show to commit murder? And then Gail's like, correct. And then Sidney's like, yep.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, that's exactly what we want you to do, verbatim.
Wes Hicks, suspecting Dewey is the killer. You got stabbed 1 billion times, got dumped by your famous wife, and crawled into a bottle. I think it's safe to say you're on the suspect list. And then Dewey responds back, well, maybe you're the killer because that cut deep.
Oh, it was a hard burn.
Amber Freeman to Sam, it wouldn't work with just you, Sam. To Sidney, see what we had to bring the legacy characters back to make it matter. Can't have a bona fide Halloween without Jamie Lee.
Oh my God, I was dying at that one.
Amber Freeman choking Gail. Time to pass the torch. Gail Riley, it's all yours, bitch. And then that's when she headbutts her and then sets her face on fire. I love that.
Yeah, and then says, enjoy your torch.
Richie Kirsch, because nobody takes the true fans seriously. Not really. They just laugh at us. And why? Because we love something. We're just fucking joke to them. How can fandom be toxic? It's about love. You don't fucking understand. These movies are important to people. message, folks. That is the writers, everybody involved basically saying, yeah, horror fans can be kind of ridiculous sometimes, and this is a response to that. So here you go.
I want to put out a disclaimer that the hosts here at Death Holler do not want to create their own horror film in real life. We would want to create a horror film, but acting.
Yes,
fully acting.
We appreciate the art that goes behind it, and not the real life that inspires it.
We were not made for that kind of drama.
And then, another time, Tara Carpenter, badly burned and disfigured. Amber emerges from the kitchen, screaming, charging, and then that's when Tara responds back after she shoots her. I still prefer the Babadook.
I did not catch that. I'm so sad.
And then Ghostface finally to Dewey Riley, critically wounded. It's an honor, like I said. So, because you got to give him his due before you take him out, because he's lasted this long.
He has been through some shit. I'm not even going to pretend that I did not cry. That brought some tears to my eyes when that happened, and it's been an honor. Fuck you. That is the sweetest and most asshole thing you could say at the same time. Like a sweet asshole.
Yeah. It's kind of shitty, but at least Ghostface, recognized his role in everything. So, visually, this movie is one of the better looking ones that's came out in years.
Yeah, and it's not fair because it's like a newer film. It's not about the money, as we can clearly tell, because more money was spent in some of the past movies, but it is about the technique and the skills that have been learned over the decades of creating horror films.
Yeah, but I would say that the new directors and definitely got with the right directors of photography or whatever. They really did make this movie as a love letter to Scream, because they didn't half-ass the visuals, at least on that part of it.
Yeah. Oh, the visuals by far the best. There's no undisputable. It's just
the kills.
Mm-hmm.
They're more graphic and gory than the movie has had in years. It's up there. Some would debate the story, though. I don't know how you feel about that, because I actually like portions of it, but there's a lot of people that were so pissed at the reveal that it was Sam's boyfriend, because they were like, because the movie even says it at one point. Dewey looks at him and says, "Oh, it's your boyfriend."
Yeah.
And then and then he's like, "What? No, it's like, you're fucking full of it, old man. You second, act, or you off-brand Sam Elliott," or whatever he says to him at that point. And it's just like, and then at the end of it, he tells Sam, he's like, "Dewey told you who the killer was, you stupid bitch."
Yeah. I knew it was Jack Quaid immediately. I knew he was the killer immediately. And I don't know why, because he had some of the best, I don't know, things to kind of cool the scene down where things are high tense, and he has a couple of things where he kind of brings it down, the tension and the drama a little bit, to make you feel comfortable. He did it well. I will give you one scene, an example. So when they're talking, when it's Randy's niece talking about the films and blah, 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 and he's like, "I'm going to go downstairs to get some beer," because she tells him that's where the beer is. And she's like, "You should never go down alone." And he's like, "Well," and he asked her if she wanted to go, but she didn't, obviously. And then he's like, "Okay, well, I'll be right back." And then he's like, and he points to her like, not supposed to say that.
Got kind of the stew moment going on.
Yeah. So I loved that. And that kind of made me think for a minute, maybe it's not him. Even though I was I don't know why I thought it was him. I think there was just too many close calls in the movies that it was like he always just happened to be there, but nothing really happened to him.
Yeah, he always showed up like right after an attack, like
Yeah, so I kind of knew it was him. I was a little bit more surprised by Amber, more than anything. So, but as for
she was kind of, she did a really good job of blending. We talked about that with Emma Roberts, but I feel like it felt weird in this sense, because I feel like Amber, she came out enough in the movie to kind of try to throw shade at Wes and some of the others.
Yeah.
But then she would recede into the background well enough that you're like, "Oh shit, I forgot she was still here."
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the reveal wasn't my favorite of the part of the storyline, because she kind of came off bratty. I like Jack Quaid's delivery a little bit better, but I am going to say this about the story. It was a little bit refreshing, aside from the fact that they used the boyfriend. how they met and how they came about. It wasn't anybody related. It did just happen to be somebody that you knew.
I'll tell you something else that I don't disagree with any of that. I'm actually a fan of this movie. I know some people shit on it when it came out. Of course, that always happens with new movies. I think it's one of the better sequels that's came out in years. And one of the things that I love about this movie is the twist on the final girl. I fucking love the fact that Sam is like a pseudo slasher.
Yes.
Ready. I mean, like she's fighting it because, she's got the hallucinations from Billy, and then going on. You can say what you want to about the visuals there, but I can excuse that, even because somebody brought that up. They're like, it looks a little wonky when you focus on it too much, the de-aging they did on, Skeet, but you got to remember it's an hallucination. So if it's like not perfect, that actually is a good thing, because it wouldn't be. And because she didn't know him to begin with, all she has to go by is like images of him, from the past. Like she never knew him. She keeps seeing him as he was in the original Scream, but she would have never known that because, she was conceived right before he went psycho.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something, because this movie is hard to enjoy. And let me tell you why. I'm going to exclude 3 characters. Dewey, fucking Jennifer Ortega, and Jack Quaid. I said characters. Now I'm going to exclude actors. We're just going to exclude those 3 people because the acting by everyone else was not the best at all. That includes Courtney Cox, and that includes, I think, Neve Campbell is just tired. I think she's just tired.
Neve Campbell, I think I've got this in the notes here, like, they basically got her on loan. She was just like, if I have to, pay me the money and I'll show up. It's one of those things.
Okay, and it makes sense.
But Sam is, I would almost agree with you, but I feel like Sam does do a decent job of showing concern for Jenna Ortega's character. Mm-hmm. She is playing, like at the end of it, I do like her conflicted feelings because like she has to give in to Billy's like become a killer thing in order like to use that power to to finish Jack Quaid's character off.
Yeah.
So like there's enough facial acting there that I feel like that she sold the part. But
yeah, she's one of the better of the worst, I'm gonna say.
The niece and nephew I did not like.
Mm-mm.
I didn't.
Nope.
They are definitely not stand-in for Jamie Kennedy whatsoever. They are not.
They don't hold a candle. It's sad.
Kyle Gallner didn't have anything to work with. I mean, he can act his ass off in most things, and he had this he had a little bit of the sketchy nature that he needed. It's like the kind of older guy that's like dating Liv, which is probably illegal if we get right down to it. But he's just not in. He's in the movie for like 2 scenes, I feel like, and that's it. So he's not in it enough to really get much out of him. So I will agree with you on the side actors, but it doesn't hold a candle like to the original, where everybody either through sheer charisma or whatever was bringing it all. But I feel like it still beats part 3 because there was a lot of just like bullshit in that movie, like characters.
Oh yeah.
Blended into the background, like Jenny McCarthy's character, like what was the point? Tyson Fox, that character in the movie, he just he's there, he's gone, he's back again just to die. I mean, it's one of those things. The principals that were doing their part in this movie, because David Arquette, this is the best acting I've seen him ever do.
Yeah,
period.
and then he's done. So it's like, okay. But then again, that's how you want it to be. You want it kill it before it becomes dead itself, Just end it, cut the ties, rip off the Band-Aid. I think that was great and poetic. I mean, because I think this movie could have definitely been better, but it just felt like the actors were just Kmart acting. And which I'm going to say this, and I've only seen previews, and I don't feel like the previews give a ton away, but I am going to say that specifically, Sam's character, Jenna Ortega, already a good character, a good actress. So that's why I removed her from the, hey, this is terrible, but these 3 people they held their own. Jenna Ortega, she's excluded from the previews because Sam definitely her acting looks like it definitely improved already.
Yeah, and I hope it did, because her character's the most interesting character of all the ones in the movie. I mean, period. I would go we'll get into that with awards, but I love a twist on the final girl thing, and the fact that they're working in the slasher potential in the final girl. Oh my God, chef's kiss! Like that is the best idea that like anybody has came up with in recent years.
It almost seems cheesy, but it works. I don't think that Noah really liked it. I think he was like, "Oh, this is so dumb." But I'm like, you don't understand how this kind of mental illness can be something that's hereditary.
Well, because you have misfiring like neuroreceptors, meaning that there's like malformed like receptors in the brain that can very deliberately be passed on from like one person to another.
And
like
Billy
100%.
could have grown up with that, and then he had some tragedies happen that just kind of, you can't start a fire without a spark, and the spark was there,
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I mean, even if you want to argue, well, they're making it overly dramatic. It's a movie. It's not like, I mean, if it was in a novel, then they could take their time, make it more subtle, make the way that she experienced it. But you've got to have a visual shorthand in a movie. It's got to be to where the audience can pick it up like that, run with it. Because if they can't, then they're confused. And so, yes, is it like maybe too on the nose to have her deliberately seeing Billy? Yeah, probably, but it works in a visual form because it's shorthand to where the audience can pick it up instantly and say, okay, that's what we're dealing with. That's what we got going on.
Yeah. So kind of in a nutshell, it was a better storyline for me. I did appreciate that much. I think it was, to me, like I said, it was refreshing. The three main actors that I listed just as good as they were, couldn't hold the film up for me. It's so hard because I'm teetering. It's like I'm on a seesaw where, oh my God, and then the kills were some of the best kills we've ever seen. But this acting fucking really drug it down. Like, it was hard to watch at some points. It took me 2 separate watches, months apart from each other, for me to finish this film, because the first half I could not even.
Going back to what you were saying about the acting, the actor who plays Wes, he's a weird one, because like you have to really pay attention to him to get like the acting out of him, because he's one of those actors that's like so subtle it almost seems like he's not acting. Yeah. But like there is stuff there. I mean, like it's more like the actress who plays Sam. It's more in the face. It's you have to put a lot of work into seeing him like do his job. But he does have he's a little bit above like the standard Kmart acting that's going on by, I would say, the twins, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's just that his is so subtle. It's like, I mean, it doesn't stand out when you've got David Arquette like chewing up the scenes right next to him. It's one of those things. But I can see that. I when we go to rank these movies, like I'm really wavering between this one and 4. Like there's and it wouldn't even have been a contest before, because I was just like you, like I've said many times, 4 is like, okay, just another sequel, whatever. And this one, I was actually refreshed. I was like, when I saw it in theaters this past year, I'm like, I kind of dig this. I'm ready for more Scream movies. And I thought when I went to it, because my wife wanted to go, I was just like, oh, here we go. It's going to be one of those. And we'll just, but I was kind of surprised at the way that they took it. And like, then whenever I went back and watched 4, I was like, well, this is better than I imagined it or remember it being 2. It's tough between those 2 movies because they both got their positives and negatives, and they kind of teeter. They're, as far as like which one's better than the other one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about it, music-wise or anything else? We were kind of said the music is a little bit more memorable than part 4, but that's not saying a whole lot. It still doesn't stand out like the original Scream.
Yeah, it's not the same, so I really don't want to spend a tangent on music.
So are we ready for trivia?
I am ready for trivia.
The fact that Dewey never mentioned his sister Tatum or her death was an oft-criticized aspect of the prior sequels, making it seem like she had been forgotten. Here we see that he still keeps her ashes on his mantle. So that's a nice little tie-in. Like all previous 4 Scream films, Roger L. Jackson is actually on the phone with the characters as Ghostface.
Wait, like all previous? Oh, okay. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. David Arquette, who is a certified Bob Ross painting instructor, taught several of the cast members how to paint like the legendary artist during filming breaks.
That is fucking awesome. He's a certified Bob Ross painting instructor. What the fuck, dude? I want that life.
That just fits David Arquette. Like, I imagine him getting stoned off his Gordon and just like,
yeah,
little trees.
Yeah. See, this is where we hid the bodies.
And then going and watching wrestling afterward because he's real big into wrestling.
He's a huge
too.
wrestling fan. Yeah.
Nev Campbell was initially hesitant to return to the franchise, especially in the new Scream film that didn't feature Wes Craven as the director, who would be unable to give Campbell and the new directors his blessing due to his death. What changed her mind was a letter sent to her by the two directors of this film, where they wrote about how much Wes Craven and his films meant to them as filmmakers.
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool.
I mean, I understand, but they're not taking anything away from Wes Craven. I don't feel. And
yeah, but the thing is, though, if you get somebody who doesn't appreciate what went on before,
yeah,
cough cough Halloween, you kind of get some shit. And I mean, especially if any of the original characters come back, like their characterizations can be off, like the story's not paying respect to where it, like kind of like what 3 did, it's like, it's the characters don't even really resemble themselves to a certain extent. So, in the original film, Sydney uses an online 911 emergency system to call for help. The scene was meant to show her typing her address, 34 Elm Street, but it was cut out for time. It wasn't until this film that an Elm Street in Woodsborough was seen, made canon, and confirmed to be the street that Sydney grew up on. Elm Street is, of course, a reference to Nightmare on Elm Street. So
yeah,
Sid grew up on Elm Street.
That's fucking awesome. Also, I remember that online 911 system, and I don't remember that ever being a real thing.
I don't remember it either.
Could
but
you
we
imagine
didn't
how many
have that
pranks
kind
would
of
have happened?
What's that?
Could you imagine how many pranks would have happened with that? Or like...
I'm imagining right now, because it's all over the internet, or at least on my TikTok, those AI presidents, Barack, Trump and all that, them type it into that system. It's like, but using like today's lingo, it's like my nuts are on fire, no cap, or whatever, just like shit like that. That's what I'm imagining, like somebody doing that shit.
Oh my God, like police officers, we're on our way, we're sending a patrol car right now, say less, son.
The meeting scene between Dewey and Gail Weathers led to a lot of tears as the two actors who had been married and divorced in real life worked through the scene together. I remember they told us after one particular take, okay, that one was definitely not for the movie. That was for us. We'll get to the one that's for the movie. And they were really working through some stuff, James Vanderbilt said.
Which is weird because it's like I don't feel like it was a reunion for them because they see each other. They share a child together. I mean, I know they don't they've never been estranged.
Yeah, but think about this. In the movie, Dewey's meeting Gail for the first time. It's like the characters brought something in them out that they was probably fighting or wasn't willing to admit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like... It's like when couples therapy, when they do that stuff where it's like, put yourself in the role of, whatever, like, so you can distance yourself, but then like try to see it from the outside.
Yeah.
I think by them acting through these characters that are like, fake versions of themselves, they were able to maybe work through some trauma or, in the relationship that they didn't even know they had.
I wonder what his wife thinks, which by the way, his wife is Courtney Cox 2.0.
He's got a type. What can you say?
Yeah, it's a younger version of her. I mean, not identical, but pretty fucking close. That's got to be weird.
Well, she bagged the guy shortly after she divorced him, so she can't say a whole lot.
No, 100%. I'm not saying... I'm just talking about his wife, David Arquette's wife, how she felt about them.
It'd be weird for her, the fact that he's still, having scenes like this with his ex-wife or whatever.
Yeah, and them having to work through that together. For me, it'd be a little, I don't know. I'd be a little concerned.
You'd be stabbing some folks. That's just admit
yes,
it.
I know. We had to go there, didn't we?
The framed photo of David Arquette and Courtney Cox that Dewey had on his mantelpiece is a real life one that was taken during their marriage.
Oh, wow.
The first two films feature flash cut shorts or shots of Ghostface acting menacing before the end credits. Here, there's a flash of Ghostface honorably wiping his blade with his head bowed in respectful fashion in honor of Wes Craven.
Aw.
That's pretty cool. This film was released on January 14th, 2022, 25 years and 25 days from the release of the original film.
That's insane. That's kind of cool.
Some copies of the movie included a pre-show clip of Ghostface warning the audience against revealing the ending to others, threatening that we take spoilers dead seriously.
Wow.
David Arquette said he was excited to regrow his now famous mustache for his role as Dewey Riley.
Does he need an excuse? He's an I guess maybe if he's an actor on a certain show or anything, I guess he can't.
Yeah, but his mustache was way better in this one. Like the one that he has in part one is so shitty. Like I was staring at, I was like, shave that off, dude. Like maybe I normally don't think that, but in this one he had the scruffy beard and he had a really decent mustache, and I'm like, that looks good on you. That should have been the look the entire time. I don't know why it wouldn't.
Yeah.
Dewey watches Gail as an anchor for Good Morning America. Before he turns the TV off, Gail signs off making a joke about how she hopes to never have bangs again. and if she tries, someone should stop her. And of course, this is referencing her hair from part 3. Her hair in part 4 and part 5 is way better.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Than what 3 was so bad. It's just so fucking bad. The two directors were big fans of Scream films long before being hired as directors of this film. They cite Wes Craven and Scream as the reason they started making horror films. They also very badly wanted to collaborate with Samara Weaving again, as having worked with her on Ready or Not, but she was unavailable. Weaving will appear in Scream 6. Oh, fuck.
Yes!
Oh, God. So, that's so cool.
I like that. I bet she's going to be Ghostface.
She is such a good actress, though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've loved everything I've seen her like in the Babysitter, 1 and 2, the Ready or Not. Like, that's another one that's like a modern day Scream queen. Like, okay, keep starring in them, Samara. You're doing great. Like, I love it. Nev Campbell didn't realize until after the fact that Sidney Prescott's husband in Scream 2025 that he was actually in it as an Easter egg. While speaking with Screen Rant about a role in the film, Campbell's asked about the Mark Kincaid Easter egg. She revealed that someone just told me that yesterday, and that I didn't realize it when I was saying it. Considering that it's been 22 years since the release of Scream 3, and that the character's not appeared since then, this is not surprising. Though she admitted that what's funny is I played Patrick's sister in Grey's Anatomy in 2005.
Weird. I just want to point out that also really important from Scream 3, because Mark Kincaid, obviously that's where we got him, but that's also where we get good boy Cherokee, 100% certified bona fide good boy, who was played by 2 golden retrievers. Their names were Cosmos and Solar.
Oh my God.
How come they weren't mentioned in this film? They're probably dead. It's been 22 years.
Yeah, it's been long enough. They probably sadly were no longer with us. That's way to bring the room down. The new cast members have all stated that radio silence was extremely secretive about the true ending of the film during the production, to the point where none of the new cast knew the final outcome, and it was likely done to avoid the leaks that afflicted Scream 2 in 97.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, we knew that was going to be a thing.
Yeah. Dylan Mignette's reaction to seeing Ghostface was genuine, as the filmmakers snuck the killer into a take where he wasn't expected to be. Add in that Mignette hadn't seen the Ghostface costume yet, and he was legitimately surprised in the moment.
That's hella funny. That's exactly what they would fucking do to me.
Yeah, that's exactly what they would do to you. They would scare the shit out of you with that.
Well, here's the thing. Am I supposed to survive in my zombie scene, or am I supposed to live? Because what you're going to see is me screaming no and turning into a puddle on the floor. So how many retakes do you want?
Some of the best scenes, though, for a lot of these actors in these horror movies is the death scene. I mean, some of them are like, we talked about Crispin Glover, like he was so excited the day that they were going to kill him with that corkscrew in Friday 4.
Oh
It's
my
like,
God.
he was almost like a little puppy. It's like, can we do it? Can
Is
we do
it
it? Can we kill
happening?
me? You know?
Oh my God. I would legitimately be crying and screaming if I were in a zombie death scene. I wouldn't be, it would be a total meltdown, and it would be one take and they would love it.
So you wouldn't go out like Captain Rhodes, like a total badass saying choke on them or whatever. You'd be basically just like some blubbering mess.
Oh, I'd be a whole blubbering mess. If I had any lines, you wouldn't be able to understand them. My makeup would be coming off. I would not be okay.
You'd be like Dave Franco. He goes out like a bitch in Warm Bodies. You'd be just like him in that scene.
100%. I can't walk through a Halloween horror night without screaming no at the top of my lungs when I think I'm going to get attacked.
And that just makes them attack you all the more. So
they
that's on
love
you.
me. They love me in those. I'm a magnet, so...
The opening scene with Tara Carpenter getting a call and being attacked was filmed on both the first and the last days of the production thanks to COVID delays. The beginning of this scene, she's 17 years old. She turned 18 before returning to finish the scene. They have nothing but praise for Jenna Ortega's performance and professionalism. She's damn good in the movie for her age. Like, she really is.
She is, yes. And Jenna Ortega, again, is the scream we get in the opening, the disclaimer, if you will. Where you hear the scream, hear the scream, shriek, or not shriek, but more like the violins, if you will, playing right before they get attacked, and her just screaming her guts out. That's her.
At the very end of the film, when the title card appears that reads "For Wes" in memory of the original director of the franchise, there is a sound bite of birds chirping. This is due to the fact that in his free time, Craven was an avid bird watcher and enthusiast.
Oh, that's adorable.
Hayden Panettiere was supposed to have a bigger cameo. Villala told The Wrap that the YouTube scene was initially going to be a clip of Rhea Johnson talking about making Stab 8 with Woodsboro survivor Kirby. This would have been a fun interaction and built on an earlier joke about fans' real-life reaction to Johnson's divisive Star Wars The Last Jedi. Although the filmmakers weren't able to get the pieces in place in time to make this happen, they still wanted Panettiere to have presence in Scream 2022, resulting in the Kirby photo and a touching voice cameo during the house party.
Okay.
In Scream 4, Dewey was revealed to have recovered from the limp from years of physical therapy. In this film, the limp is once again present, and he states that he has permanent nerve damage after having been stabbed 9 times. The return of Dewey's limp could also be a result of his neglect for physical therapy after resigning from Woodsboro Police Department.
Wow.
So they give a shitty reason why the limp's back, but but they gave a shitty reason why it disappeared. So 2 negatives make a positive, I guess.
Yeah.
A YouTube video with the title "Did the real life Stu Macher survive?" is glimpsed on a laptop screen, a reference to how often the idea of bringing back Matthew Lillard as Stu Macher has been teased as a possibility in the series, despite his apparent death. In fact, an early draft of the Scream 3 had him return as a killer, as we said, before all the rewrites because of Columbine shootings. So.
Oh yeah.
And finally, as of this installment, the actors who played Tatum Riley and Stu Macher in Stab are confirmed as having been Alicia Silverstone and Vince Vaughn in the Stab movies.
That's... I'm buying it.
Vince Vaughn is Stu. That's perfect.
I love it.
Death Holler Awards. What do you think about Sam and Tara as final girls?
Yes, and yes. Like you said, before I take credit away from you, Sam having that psycho serial killer fucking vibe / microchip that is actually helping her in this sense per se. I love it. And then, Wednesday Addams is just a really good actress. So she definitely has the horror chops, and she sold her role.
If they're making this a new trilogy, and I'm just throwing this out there, Sam would completely go to the dark side if Tara was to get killed in part 6.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she went to a
So-
dark place just killing, what's his name? Jack Quaid's character.
Yeah, Richie. Yeah. So if Tara dies in part 6, we could see Sam as the killer in part 7.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, there are no rules. They do not apply to the Scream films.
Well, especially now that they've done the requel, because now all the old rules are gone. Like they're totally starting a new franchise now.
Yeah.
In a sense. So, what do we think about these? So I agree. I mean, as far as like those two final girls, I think that's great, and they are the perfect two. Well, with at least with and you said that the actress has gotten better, so that's great. But the twist with Sam, and then having Jenna as like the other final girl, I think that's a good passing the torch, not as with a bottle of hand sanitizer and a stove, but that's a perfect passing the torch from Neve Campbell to a new generation. Like that's a good way to hand it off.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the slashers?
Richie, yes. Amber, no. I did not like Amber. And not even that she was...
I didn't like Amber at all.
Yeah, it wasn't even that she was annoying or anything. It's just that the storyline, it was there. I don't know. It wasn't jiving.
Yeah, Richie made sense. Like Jack Quaid, actually, there's the way that he's, like you said, it's so weird. Like he's got that baby face that he can, like, you know, con you in, even though it's like you do even said it's like he's the killer, and it's like but it's Jack Quaid. Like he couldn't harm an ant. Like
even when he's basically calling a whore, basically saying you slept with the serial killer. You know, like first off, she didn't know, but second, like he's calling her a whore, and you're a fucking psycho.
Yeah. Well, the same thing that Billy did. You know, in the original movie. I don't know. I agree with you. I think Richie's the better of the two. They're not the best in the series by any means, but they're also not the worst. I mean, cough, Roman.
Oh God.
The best kill. I would say that when Amber gets all of the various things done to her is probably my favorite, just because she died, and I enjoyed seeing that, but also she got her face burnt, she got shot, she was stabbed. I mean, it was pretty good time.
And the visuals on it were pretty legit. And then it looks like you added, you know, a thing about Dewey, and I'm 100% on board with you on that. Dewey's kill was brutal. You got to give
Dewey his credit in his scene.
Well, you felt it. You felt it in your soul.
Yeah, well, and I mean, and it also, like, I mean, we talked about it before during the Alice, Sweet Alice, but like you see certain kills on screen and you can't really relate to the pain and stuff, like, you know, and that's why the director in that movie wanted somebody's foot to be stabbed, because everybody knows foot pain.
Yeah.
But I feel like with Dewey, like the way that they did it, like even though it's like you can't really, I mean, you don't really know unless you've been through it, like what it means to get like stabbed in the gut. The way they filmed it, the way he, you know, acted it, that actually, I mean, I felt it more than a lot of the other kills in the series.
The closest I can get to is having had 2 cesarean sections, and I was the weird one that was walking hours after I was stitched together. Don't know why. I can't handle having children. I can handle having them removed from me. With very little painkillers after the procedure, but it does feel like, to me, it feels when you're walking, it feels like you're gonna rip open and your insides are gonna fall out. Kind of. It's a weird feeling. It's not painful, but weird. So that's the only thing I could relate it to. And I mean, have you ever been punched in the sternum?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was thinking that when I saw the knife go up, I was like, oh, like no.
I think I probably empathize more with the back part of it, because anybody's ever had their back go out, and especially after you get 40 years old, like it happens just when you sneeze. That I thought of that. I'm like, oh fuck. Like, and also like one time I was at the gym and I lifted a little too many weights at one point in time, and whenever they dropped or whatever, it was like a little bit of a, you know, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm
stuck
fucked.
Like this forever.
And it didn't happen for like a day, but when that swelling set in, Oh my God. So yeah, I felt the back stab, if nothing else. Like I was like, oh God, that's bad.
You know, we're at that age where lifting weights can both hurt you and help you. Because thanks to Donnie G and his workout video, he fixed my shoulder unintentionally.
Well, I mean, and it's also a thing. I mean, even for women, they suggest like, I mean, that, you know, it's a worry that women have that they'll bulk up. But I mean, first of all, like you don't have enough testosterone to really bulk up. I mean, unless you're taking it and you're as a transition thing, and then whatever, have at it, have fun. But at the same time, you need that, you know, like higher, you know, weights or whatever to kind of cause the bones to compress, because when you do that, the bones have to grow back stronger, and osteoporosis tends to be an issue later on for a lot of women.
You hear that, lady? If you don't use it, you'll lose it, okay?
Yeah, just look at Madonna. She lost her face. But it was well used before, so I don't know what happened there. Best scream, Jenna Ortega.
Oh, undisputed.
Hands down.
Yes.
She was screaming so much in the beginning of that. And like, I mean, it was probably some of the best screams in the entire series, to be perfectly honest.
It definitely was, because when I was researching for our Death Holler opening, you know, the disclaimer, and we needed to find, you know, tender moments, laughter, things like that. Freddy Krueger, obviously, we had to go with that. That was the best laughter. Tender moment, Jason Voorhees. But when it came to Scream, I was looking for the Scream franchise, and it was not Drew Barrymore. I thought it was for sure it was going to be Drew Barrymore, but I found a YouTube clip that went through quite a few screams, and when I came to Jenna Ortega, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it right here.
Yep. I mean, she's a certified scream queen.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean,
she earned it.
Best killer motive. Richie's motive is he wants to give real life inspiration for a better Stab sequel. And then Amber is about the same, but she also grew up in Stu Macher's house and became obsessed with Stab. And so she's got a little bit more motivation than Richie does.
I guess, yeah. They're huge fans either way, you know?
It's a weird one. These are probably they're not the dumbest motives in the series. I mean, Roman's is probably the worst.
Yeah.
Especially with the retcon. Nancy's is the most boring. Mickey's is kind of cool because he's like a psycho that wants to be on trial so he can be, you know, like get his name out there. He doesn't want fame in the sense of that way. He just wants to be like known forever, you know, as a big killer.
Yeah.
Billy's was probably the best just because he, you know, had a personal thing with Sid or whatever, and that's what got everything started. We still don't know what Stu's was. He kind of it could have been the homosexual part that people have theorized. We don't really know. This one's probably, I mean, I would say theirs is like slightly beneath Jill's, because I think Jill's is kind of cool in its own weird way, making fun of that, you know, type of stuff. Whereas this is just like, you know, going back to the horror fan roots, but it's kind of like just kind of mediocre in a sense.
Yeah.
Doom Prophet could be doing this one, but if you're going to go with an expert, the clear passing the torch in that sense was Randy's niece. Like,
yes.
She's the one that even sitting there reenacting the scene that Randy was going through. It's like, look behind you, they're behind, you know, and then all that stuff.
Realizing, oh my God, she was annoying, so I'm gonna make her the annoying Doom Prophet. She was. I didn't like her. I mean, I didn't hate her, but the acting was not great.
Yeah, her acting's not that great.
And
that's my biggest issue with her as a character. Like, she should have been like a standout because she was replacing Randy. And she just didn't get there at all. And
I am, for the most part, a simpleton when it comes to watching movies. There's a lot of things that I miss. There's, you know, clearly things I don't catch. I don't catch every detail. I'm not meticulous about that stuff. So I should not be able, a person like me should not be able to catch when acting is not good. You should be embarrassed.
Does she get the honorary Franklin Award?
Yeah, it's bad and she should feel bad. Her acting is bad and she should feel bad.
Just like Zoidberg.
Yes.
Best side character, to Billy Loomis hallucination. That's fucking cool.
Oh, that's a good one because I didn't like anybody else. So yes, I'm with you on that one.
And then the dumbest moment is Dewey looking at his phone before finishing off Ghostface. Like Dewey has, if anybody in the movies is like sees enough that he shouldn't have died the way that he did.
Yeah, that's true. He had a Dean Winchester death.
Yeah, it's like, oh god, oh shit, like, you know, vampire takes me out, you know, that's fucking shit. Okay, rank the movies. I mean, I know one is clearly at the top. There's no way otherwise.
So you're not gonna like my ratings, but they're mine. So leave me alone. 1, 2, 5, 4, and 3.
2, 5, 4, and 3. Not bad. I can't. That's fine. Because I'm right there with you. I don't know where to put 5 and 4. It's clearly 1. Is number 1. 2 is number 2. I mean, it's the best sequel. 3 is at the bottom, hands down. Will always be there. And because it looks like 6 looks like it could be pretty good. I don't know between 5 and 4 because I would have said 4 beneath 5, but like I said, I went back on that. So I think I'm going to go with 5, with 1, 2, 5, 4, and 3, like you did. I think I'm going to be there right where, but it's very close in 5 and 4. There's like not a whole lot of, you know, difference there.
Yeah. I feel like 4 to me was, I thought you would have been 4, 5, 3. 4 to me was same shit, different day in terms of the family drama. I will tell you what put 5 for sure in its place, though, was the kill scenes. They were the most impressive of all of the films, realistically.
They were. What I finally decided just now, honestly, the reason I put 5, just hedging out 4. I love the motive for Jill, but at the same time, having your final girl have like slasher tendencies. It's got to win out. Like, that's awesome. It is.
Yep. It really is. I didn't even think about that twist until you brought it up. So.
But yeah, I agree with you. So it wasn't that much of a bit. I mean, like I said, 5 and 4, any given day, I could probably switch the 2 of them. It just kind of depends.
Yeah.
But hopefully 6. I'm hoping that 6 comes in here and knocks her socks off and maybe like replaces both 5 and 4 and like moves them down the list.
Well, it looks like the acting for Sam got better, and I'm really stoked because I get to see it in 3D.
I'm going to watch it in 3D because it's been since My Bloody Valentine since I've got to watch one in 3D.
Yeah, and I haven't. I think the last film I've seen in 3D is A Nightmare Before Christmas. God, and this was a special. This was like it was years after it was released, you know, and everything. So I wanna say that's the last one I saw 3D. I don't know if there's another one in between. But yeah, I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, I want to see that. I'm hoping that the acting's better and the change of scenery is going to be interesting because it's skipping coast. I mean, it's jumping all the way to the East Coast. It's going to be New York, from my understanding. It's going to get us out of like the typical. So that'll make it a little bit more fresh that way. Just having, you know, it's not going to be the standard. Like, I mean, there's kills like they hint at that are on like a subway or something, or you know, like or something like that. So. I'm looking forward to that to kind of see just a change in the setting.
Have you seen the preview already?
I've seen a little bit. Yeah, I think they played one before Cocaine Bear or something like that.
That's what I saw. Yeah. And the kills are vicious. Everyone in the way is going to die. If
it's by the same directors, I mean, they clearly have got an eye for that, so that's going to be good.
So that was pretty exciting. And the fact that you're in a big city, so you think you're going to be safe because you're surrounded by people. Again, I talked about Vegas being that way, and they're not safe. So I don't know what to expect from this. There's a lot more people on the poster, so I'm almost wondering if there's some kind of cult of some sort of Ghostface killers. And if you have 4 or 5 Ghostface, you're extra fucked.
Yeah, if there's that many of them, that's going to be real bad.
Yeah. So
we'll see how that goes when we have our special presentation here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's coming up here real soon.
Anything else you want to add about any of the Scream movies?
I thought that there was something that I wanted to add. I can't think of it at this time. I already talked about Good Boy Cherokee, so got that part out. No, you already know I have scream burnout so bad, and it happens with these films, but I didn't have Friday the 13th burnout like this. I don't know why.
Well, I can tell you why that is. It's because Friday the 13th, it really ups and alters the kills so much that you can enjoy it that way. You're literally watching just people get stabbed with a knife in the Scream series, and if you watch them back to back to back, it's like it becomes so apparent. It's like, come on, you know, it's
so, and I felt like I honestly felt, even with the way that I rated the films, I did feel that they progressively got worse, but not in the same way. So, like, you just can't compare to the first one. So that one just is not included. 2 was a little bad. 3 got real bad. 4, I didn't like the storyline. 5, I liked it a little better, but I didn't like the acting. So it just kind of got worse as it went further down, although 5 obviously ended up right in the middle of our, of our voting for where we place the films. So I have high hopes for 6. That being said, even though I feel like the movies just kept getting worse over time,
I think that's, outside of the anomaly that was part 3 having such a high box office return, and that was, I think, because fans didn't realize what they were getting in 3.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Before the damage was done. I feel like that kind of fits with the box office returns, though, because 5 really came back and had this very similar box office returns as the originals, and I think that goes to show that it had word of mouth. So I think people kind of feel the same way. A lot of people that 5 is, again, not there. Nothing's ever going to beat the original in that sense, but 5 is like a nice new step into something, in the franchise.
Yeah. Again, because they pulled away from that storyline. Other than the boyfriend thing, obviously, he had to find a way to get close to her, so it makes the most sense. He didn't grow up with this. He didn't grow up with a chip on his shoulder. He just grew up a psycho, so it's a little bit different. I don't know. I'm just glad that even after the burnout, that I am still kind of a little stoked to see part 6. And my expectations are somewhere in the middle. I don't have high expectations, but I also don't have low expectations. So really, it could go either way.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the acting. It's going to depend on the kills. That's really what's going to be the saving grace for part 6.
Yeah. And like I said, acting looks like it got a little bit better. Kills already. It was just a small scene too, and like I said, brutal. So.
Yeah, and one other thing I was going to say is that like I said, there was some people that were bitching about the killers being a little too easy to figure out. In this one versus some of the others in the series, but somebody pointed out that they feel like that's more of a meta commentary from the directors. It's like it's you don't have to have it's almost like them saying it's like, no, it's blatantly obvious who it is, and it was the entire movie, and that's kind of the point. It's we're making a statement with that.
Yeah, but there's some things that kind of throw you off because, like I said, I thought Trevor was the killer in part 4, and he wasn't. One of the killers, excuse me. I really thought he was going to be. So there are things that can throw you off where he's, the boyfriend. So it's like, oh, yeah, definitely going to be the boyfriend. And it wasn't. So there's that.
Yeah. I think that pretty much wraps it up. So how's things going and lean into it for the guys? What have we been up to on that?
Well, the boys have, if you're following us on Death Holler, I think you could find the podcast formerly known as Blue Collar BS as one of our who we follow, etc. You can go follow them, but now they have an Instagram. And it's funny because I have to make fun of them because it looks like their podcast is called Leanne to It. It's lean, letter N, number 2, it. It looks like Leanne to It. So anyways, if you want to follow Leanne to It, they have an Instagram now. I don't know that they have a Twitter, but they're following us on Death Holler, everything on Death Holler. They're following us, and these guys just, kind of discuss your weekly bullshit going on around the world, kind of like world news, a tiny bit of politics, random facts about fucking, I don't know, street drugs, shit like that. I don't know. They talk about all kinds of bullshit. You'll hear my husband complain about me too if you want to, so go take a listen. So yeah, they're on every Sunday night, which is funny because you and I had planned on recording last night, and I was like, fuck, we can't do it. They're going to record a show, completely forgot about that.
It was fine anyways. It actually probably worked out for the best. That gave me like a day to just kind of like, recenter on on all this.
Definitely needed it. So yeah, catch the guys Sunday night, usually around 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you want to follow them, that's originally where we started as Death Holler. So we had some weird beginnings.
Yeah, but we started at the bottom. Now we're here.
We're
just slightly above the bottom, but we're making progress.
Yep.
And with that, peace be with you
and with your spirit.